What a gorgeous day in New York. Big storm coming tomorrow, but lots of sunshine today, and it's a perfect day, wouldn't you think, to play two. An old-fashioned doubleheader out in Flushing. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play a doubleheader with the Milwaukee Brewers. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. Have a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets play game one of their doubleheader with the Milwaukee Brewers. Last night, the opening game of this four-game series, and the Mets came from behind to win in the ninth inning for the first time all year, and they did it with a 20-year-old rookie getting the big hit.
Well, Ruben Tejada, who has been pinch hit for a lot lately, remained in the ball game here. It had a big night, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, and of course, the game-winning double in the bottom of the ninth inning, scoring 2 runs, and he's also raised his average above the Mendoza line at 210. Here's the game winner right there. That was a first-pitch fastball from John Axford. Up into the gap, Luis Castillo was behind the trailing runner, scores the winning run. So a big day for Tejada. Like I said, 3 for 4, his average on the rise.
And so Tejada even gains a place in the batting order for the first game of the doubleheader today. He will bat 7th. No news yet on Carlos Beltran's MRI. He had that on his right knee earlier today. We'll wait for that and probably get the results during the game today. As for the pitching, John Neese tries again for his 10th victory of the season in what will be his last start of the year.
Well, he's lost his last 5 of 6, and he's been stuck on 9 wins, and nothing would please him more than to get into double digits in victories. He's been kind of hurt by the long ball lately. He got hurt in his last outing. He gave up a career high 6 walks. So he's hopeful that this was a bad one he got out of his system, and he can get number 10.
And he'll go up against one of the best pitchers in baseball this afternoon. Giovanni Gallardo goes for his 15th win for Milwaukee.
Well, Gallardo had an oblique injury in July and missed around 3 weeks and came back with 6-3 with an ERA over 5, but his last 4 starts, he's been 3-0 with an ERA under 2, so he's got it back together. He's one of the premier pitchers. Got 196 strikeouts. If he goes 3 innings, he won't be in the 200K area, which is a big plateau for a pitcher.
Gallardo threw a complete game shutout to beat the Mets at Miller Park in Milwaukee earlier this year. It's the Mets and the Brewers getting set for a doubleheader at Citi Field. All the action on SNY. on SNY is brought to you by Geico, by AT NYN, Rethink Possible, by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, by Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. And by freescore.com. Turn a credit score triple play at freescore.com. 3 scores, 1 source, freescore.com. Visit the official online shop of the Mets at Mets.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. ShopTheMets.com shop. Here's your Chevy around the majors for today. The Rays and Yankees both clinched playoff berths. David Price won his 19th in the Tampa Bay 5-0 win over Baltimore, and CC Sabathia won his 21st as the Yankees beat Toronto 6-1. That's 15 of the last 16 years the Yankees have been in the postseason. It's been 15 years since Cincinnati was in. They're in now. Jay Bruce's walk-off home run gave them a 3-2 win over Houston, and Cincinnati wins the National League Central. So 2 more playoff teams to be decided in the NL West and the wild card. Here, 2 games to be decided. Mets, Brewers, doubleheader. First pitch coming right up. Here's your 4th starting lineup for the Brewers for Game 1 today. Ryan Braun sat out last night with a stomach virus, but he's in there today. Jonathan Lucroy will do the catching. Luis Cruz at shortstop. Those are the only changes in Ken Macha's lineup after last night's 4-3 Met win. Mets have now won 3 straight. John Neese tries to make it 4.
Well, you see Neese's numbers here. He's been struggling down the stretch here in the home stretch. He'd love to get the double digits, get 10-10 on the year. This is his last start. Love his strikeouts, innings pitched. Walks, not bad for a young man. I like Jonathan. And Alexis Mets defense. Mr. Pagan is back in center field. Remember, you see Nikias getting his 2nd start. Carlos Beltran left the game last night with a tender knee, and Pagan was out. So Pagan is back and in center field, and Carlos is on the bench, resting that knee. Carter in right, Duda in left,
Angel Pagan got to the ballpark about 2:45 today. His 2-year-old daughter had eye surgery earlier today. All went well. Took her a little time to get out of the anesthesia, so Angel was a little late getting to the ballpark. Nonetheless, told Jerry Manuel that he was ready to go, and he's in there today, and his daughter is home and feeling well. Meanwhile, Randy Neiman continues to operate as a pitching coach. Dan Warthen away attending the funeral of his brother David, who passed away day before yesterday. Ricky Weeks will lead things off against Nice. This was the first man Nice ever faced in the major leagues. And Weeks takes ball 1. The second pitch Nice threw in the major leagues, September 2nd, 2008. Weeks hit a home run. This time, his second pitch is a curveball for a strike.
And may I say that our director said that the center field camera is dead on home, I believe is the terminology. And I love this angle. It's above the pitcher. You can really see the corners much better. You're not off angle. And I really like this shot. I think it's innovative. Once again, Bill Webb does it again.
Always ahead of the curve.
I love it. Now you can know the corners.
And the curveball misses. 2-2 to Weeks.
So I see the only problem is the pitcher could sometimes get in the way of the pitch as the catcher catches it. But Al doesn't have to worry about that on camera, too. He's up there just shooting the field like he always does.
You need that pitcher who falls off to the side. Slow ground ball. Reyes has to hurry in and can't make the bare hand play. And Weeks is safe at first. Tejada slides after it to make sure Weeks doesn't go any farther. It's an infield hit for Weeks.
I don't think Jose had to bare hand this. I know Weeks can run. I think he could have gloved it and made the play without the bare hand. And they're going to give it a base hit, is right. See, a guy like me, Garen, or you running to first base, that would have been an E6. It's not fair.
If I had been running to first base, he would have stopped, played it with 2 hands, and thrown me out by 20 feet. I don't know about you. Here's Corey Hart, who hit his 31st home run last night against Mike Pelfrey, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Hart having a career year after really getting off to a slow start this year and losing playing time. He broke out early this season and has had himself a marvelous year, to the point where the Brewers signed him to a 3-year contract extension that'll carry him through 2013. Ryan Braun back from his stomach virus, waiting on deck.
Another great season for Braun and a great second half.
And Hart down on 3 pitches, so John Neese uses the cutter to strike out Corey Hart for the first out of the day.
I love this angle. There's the cutter. You can see it plain as can be. That is beautiful. Starts out as a strike and breaks down low and inside out of the strike zone. Nice pitch, John.
So 1 out and 1 on, and here is Braun, who has really turned it on the last 2 months of the season. He was struggling through the end of July, but he's hitting .389 over the last 2 months. Up to .307 on the year, 6th in the National League, 25 homers and 100 runs batted in. Braun now has 128 home runs through his first 4 major league seasons.
Well,
that's the 8th highest total in history.
He's a player. There's no question about it. Hitting .381 over his last 49 Wagos.
You know, of course, who had the most home runs in the first 4 years of his career?
That would be the first baseman for the Cardinals?
No, that would be our partner, Ralph Kiner. Ralph had 168 home runs in his first 4 seasons. That's the most ever. Of course, Ralph only played 10 years and hit, what, 350-some home runs, 359?
Ralph's going to be here on Sunday?
Of course. Has to make one more appearance before we close out the season. Neese ahead on Braun 0-2 with Weeks at first. There has not been a stolen base against John Neese this season. None. There have been only 4 attempts, and they've all been caught. It'd be quite a thing for a rookie pitcher to go an entire season without giving up a stolen base.
And he's not that quick home.
Should be a double play. Reyes takes to the bag and guns down Braun for the 6-6-3 double play to end the inning. Braun broke his bat. Neese breaks his heart. No score. Jose Reyes leads off against Giovanni Gallardo, and Gallardo misses badly for ball one. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Carlos Beltran waiting the results of his MRI, out of the lineup. So Lucas Duda gets a start. So does Chris Carter. They're the corner outfielders tonight. As Reyes floats one foul down the left field side, and it's 1-1. Nice catch.
There's Giovanni Gallardo's numbers. 13 and 12 last year. Fourth year in the big league. Only 24 years old. And boy, he's fit as a fiddle. Strikeouts, innings pitched. Boy, outstanding. Home runs, impressive. Only 10. Got the big curveball straight over the top. Fastball, changeup, a little bit of a cutter. Knows how to pitch.
Gallardo threw a complete game shutout against the Mets back on May the 28th at Miller Park. He allowed 8 hits in that game and won the game 2-0. In fact, he's made 3 career starts against the Mets and has a 0.41 ERA in those 3 games.
And he's got a loss, if you believe that, with that ERA. He's 1-1 career. And in that game he won back in late May, he only walked 1 and struck out 7.
2-2 the count to Reyes, who was 0 for 3 last night. He hits one right over the third base bag and into left field. A base hit. Reyes will try for 2, and he'll make it easily with a leadoff double. So Reyes just taking one the other way and gently placing it on the outfield grass.
Well, this is what happens when Jose stays and hits line drives. He's been in too many balls in the air. It's been a bane of his that whole career. He's got to hit the ball on the ground and line drives. He gets into those ruts and he starts hitting too many fly balls.
Jose Reyes safe at second. Safe and secure. New York Life. 28th double of the year for Reyes, and now Lucas Duda comes up. Duda 1 for 2 in the game last night after coming off the bench. Began his career 1 for 34. Since then, 10 hits in 23 at-bats. That's a .435 clip.
And like his teammate at second base, Mr. Tejada, he would like to get his average above the interstate.
Well, considering where he was.
Oh, gosh. 1 for 34, was it? I don't even want to remember. It had to be awful. Nightmare.
I'm sure he doesn't want to remember.
That's another nice old angle here. Look at this. How sweet is that?
We're reinventing the game. Angel Pagan on deck.
That's my favorite cameraman down there next to Al.
You talking about Pete?
Yes.
And Gallardo throws a strike, 2-1.
Pete's the one that always has a hard time staying on his feet when it's a crowded in the ballpark, right?
Just tripping his way through life. Reyes at second and nobody on. 2-1 to Duda, and he pulls one to the right side. That'll get Reyes over. Fielder takes it himself. And so a productive out from Lucas Duda moves Reyes to third with 1 away.
Well, I can already tell right now on Gallardo that he has a very sneaky fastball. He's not a 97 guy. He throws 93. It's plenty, trust me, folks. 93 is plenty. You know, some guys throw 98. You look at Angel Pagan and his numbers getting up to the plate. What a year he's had. Some guys can throw 98 and it looks like they're throwing 89, and some guys can throw 90 and it looks like they're throwing 100. They're just sneaky. I can't describe it. Uh-oh. Is that Grover?
That's Grover. Nice of Grover to make it to the game today with the Mets uniform. Infield in for Angel Pagan, and he takes the curveball in the dirt. Lucroy goes down to block it. 1-0. So Ken Maka bringing his infield in the first inning.
There's Willie Randolph.
Serving as the bench coach for Maka. David Wright on deck. Mets trying to get off to a fast start. Willie in his second year as the Brewers bench coach. Pagan pulls one foul, and it's 1-1. The first base coach.
It's hard to believe that come around 3 o'clock this morning, we're going to get a lot of rain. It's just beautiful out right now.
We're talking about 4 inches of rain.
I heard 6. I heard on the radio.
Either way, it's a lot of rain.
I'm not exaggerating.
just inside 2-1.
I can verify that if you want me to.
You can?
Yes.
You got tape? Well, fortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to rain until after tonight's doubleheader is complete. 2-1 to Angel, and he hits it foul, 2-2. Pagan hitting .345 with runners in scoring position this year, 6th best in the National League. Trying to get Reyes home from third with 1 out. And he goes down swinging. Good breaking ball by Gallardo, and that's the 2nd out.
Well, for all you folks watching, this angle right here just tells you what it's all about. Hit a curveball. That's Uncle Charlie. That is wicked. Down and in. And there's the Coors Light Brewer defense. I wonder we were going to throw that in there. This is not a team that is particularly adept on defense. This team has always reminded me of the old American League type teams. A lot of hitting, not a lot of speed, not a lot of defense.
Here's David Wright, who hit his 27th home run of the year last night. In fact, he's hit 4 in his last 7 games. Trying to finish strong. And takes the breaking ball for a strike. David now with 98 runs batted in, trying for his 5th 100 RBI season. Tied for 10th in the National League in runs batted in. Reyes at third with 2 down. And Wright chases the fastball away, and it's 0-2. Now, Gallardo is a strikeout pitcher.
That's just out of the strike zone. And look at David's footwork here. Watch his back foot a little bit. Watch it. See it lift? That's not good. That's your plant foot, that back foot. That's the foot you drive off of. It's like a pitcher would, if a pitcher was pitching and his foot on the rubber, if he lift his foot on his drive. You've got to have that back foot firmly planted right here. You got to have it firmly planted. You can't lift like that. That's not a good thing to do.
Gallardo ahead 1-2. And he strikes him out with a curveball. So Gallardo gives up the leadoff double, but gets out of it with back-to-back strikeouts, leaving Reyes at third. Off against John Neese. Fielder 0 for 4 last night. Drove in a run with a ground ball, and he's late on the fastball from Neese, 0-1. Fielder with 32 home runs, but just 81 runs batted in. Leads the league in walks, 3rd in the league in on-base percentage at .401. and generally not nearly as effective against left-handed pitching, getting just .228 against lefties this year.
You know, I always listen to Mike Francesa when I come into the ballpark on my hour-and-a-half ride. Strike three, good fastball. He took care of him in 3 pitches. You know, during the summer, in the middle of the summer, the second half of the season, Steve Phillips was always a guest on the show and was always saying the Mets trade for Prince Fielder. And does he fit into this ballpark?
For a team that's trying to get more athletic, it's the last thing in the world that you would want.
I didn't understand. I mean, I heard him say it more than once on Mike's show, and I just don't know where he's coming from. This is a big ballpark. You lose speed.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you were going to go out and get a slugging first baseman, you're better off trying to get Adam Dunn. Brings more to the table than Fielder does.
Yet to that.
Right, well, I agree with that, but I'm just saying, of the two of them, I think Dunn gives you more offensively than Fielder does. And Dunn's a free agent, but I think the Mets are very happy with what they've got at first base. And you know, I think that with the September that Ike Davis has put together, it's even more encouraging as to what his upside is going to be. If there are plenty of areas where this team can try to improve in the offseason. I don't think that's one that they're looking at.
Agreed.
1-2 to Casey McGee, and the curveball hit to center field. Angel Pagan patrolling, and that's the second out. So Neese retires the first 2 here in the second with ease. And that'll bring up Lorenzo Cain, the Brewers center fielder. Cain 1 for 4 last night. Doubled and drove in a run, making his 32nd start since coming up the second week in August. Took over in center field from Carlos Gomez, whom we saw come off the bench last night, the former Met. And Cain takes a fastball for a strike, and Neese throwing nothing but strikes early in this game. 20 pitches, 17 strikes. Make it 21 pitches, 18 strikes. He is just pounding the zone.
Well, maybe he got it out of his system his last outing.
Well, he walked 6 in that last game in Florida in over 5 2/3. Lost the game 7-5. And Cain hits a weak foul ball. Well, for John Neese, you know, this is his last start of the year, and you always want to finish with a flourish. And trying to become the first Met rookie to win in double digits in 25 years. Rick Aguilera, the last to do it in 1985. And the curveball up the middle, a base hit. And so the Brewers have their second hit off Neese as Cain takes the turn and holds on. A 2-out single for Lorenzo Cain.
Take a look at the curve. Look how it's lazy and off speed. And that's right there on a tee. And that's the angle that this is providing. You can get a better picture of what, you know, I've seen John throw good ones this game so far, and that was a hanger, obviously. And what I see is he's not throwing it hard enough now, and it doesn't have that bite it used to have.
So now John Lucroy, who has taken over as the Brewers' #1 catcher since coming up in June. And he takes a fastball for a strike. We saw one of Lucroy's first games as a Brewer when he caught Randy Wolf in Milwaukee, and he had all sorts of trouble behind the plate, but he has really developed, they say, into their catcher of the future, and a guy they're going to go into next season with as their #1.
He might have had nerves early, first part of his young career.
Cain with a lot of speed at first. And Lucroy hits one through the hole, a base hit to right. And Cain will go first to third. Ball skips by Davis and into home plate. So the Brewers have runners at the corners with 2 down.
Another flat, lazy breaking ball right there. You can see it. You can see the spin on the ball, and a nice hitting by Lucroy going right with that hanging slider on the outer half of the plate.
So now first and third and 2 down, and the shortstop Luis Cruz will come up. Cruz making just his 3rd start with the Brewers. He was picked up on waivers last winter. Played in AAA this year. Hit .281 with 10 home runs. And he takes a curveball low and away for ball one. Alcides Escobar, the regular shortstop for the Brewers, played last night. Cruz getting the start in game one today. And Cruz breaks his bat as he fouls it off, 1-1. The Brewers are quite an offensive team, second in the league in home runs, fourth in the league in runs scored. But they're 10 games under 500 this year because, for the most part, their pitching has been dismal. Although Ken Maka has got much better starting pitching coming down the stretch of the season. That's last night rallied against the Milwaukee bullpen as the Brewers rookie closer John Axford blew a save for only the third time this year. 1-1 from Nice, and Cruz hits one right at Reyes. And that'll do it for the inning. So a couple of two-out hits. Nice works around it. Middle of the second, no score. Inning gave up a leadoff double in the first inning, but did what he does best, striking out a pair. Gallardo leads the National League in strikeouts per 9 innings, 9.7 strikeouts per 9. 196 strikeouts in just 181 innings coming into play today. So Gallardo now needs just 2 strikeouts to get to 200 for the second straight year. Ike Davis leads off in the home second. Davis riding a 7-game hitting streak. 1 for 4 last night with that long double in the 9th inning that got the Mets rally started. And a questioning glance at Bob Davidson after that first strike call. For Austin. I'm sure Austin is very much enjoying his ball game beverage. 1-1 to Davis with Carter and Tejada to follow here in the bottom of the second. Talked about sneaky fast.
Yep.
Looked it on that
yes,
pitch.
He did. When he's up, everybody's always a lot sneakier of a pitcher when they're upstairs, too.
I mean, it doesn't look as though he hides the ball particularly well. Do you think that's it?
I just think it's a nice, easy, free motion. And those guys with that easy motion can kind of, it sneaks up on you, some of them. There's also guys with the hide the ball, like herky-jerky motions, that they're sneaky because they're all elbows and you know what.
Knees?
Yes.
It's the 2-2 to Ike, and it's just off the corner with the fastball, 3-2. Well, you know, here's Ike Davis, a rookie, 24 years old, facing Gallardo, who's a 5-year veteran, 24 years old. And that's just inside ball 4, and Ike works out a walk. Plan your holiday party with Metropolitan Hospitality at Citi Field, New York's world-class event destination featuring superb cuisine, 5-star service, and state-of-the-art spaces. Book your holiday party now at metropolitanhospitality.com or get to the phone at 718-507-FOOD.
That's easy to remember.
That's a good phone number.
That's a 68th walk for Ike.
So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the second straight inning. And here's Carter, who had his 17th pinch hit of the year in the game last night. Carter's been outstanding as a pinch hitter this year. 17 pinch hits, a .315 pinch hit batting average. Has not hit quite as well in his starts this year. He's at .256 overall.
Well, Chris is what you'd call a wild card in the deck. And he's a swinger, and are we going to buy a hot dog from this vendor?
You got some business to transact here?
Yes. Let me find my wallet. Do you want a hot dog?
Yeah, you can get me one.
Two dogs. 2 dogs, please.
Out to center field, and Kane is there for the first out.
Lots of mustard. You want ketchup or no?
No, just mustard.
Okay, just mustard. Yeah.
We have to do what we can to support the vendors.
Vendors are out here working hard all year long.
It's nice that they can provide service right to the booth like this.
All right, here's yours, Gary.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Did you get mustard?
He'll get it for us. I hope this doesn't spoil my dinner tonight.
Well, you know, you're going to be here. Well, that's right. You're not going to be here for the second game. You're going to have a legitimate dinner outside the ballpark.
Yes, I am. I'm actually going to one of Drew Niparant's restaurants. So Drew works the Sella Club over there. That's his baby out there in the left field line. That beautiful restaurant going downtown.
Having trouble coming up with the
He's fine.
Second hot dog here?
It's coming.
Oh, okay. Just making sure, because I'd share mine with you.
No.
There's
okay.
only one.
Here comes the mustard. Why don't you give us around 4 of those packets? 4?
Tejada hits it out to left center, and Braun is there.
Great. What do I owe you there?
Second out. You need...
no. Where are the hot dogs here?
You treating here?
Yeah, I'm treating.
Okay. Thank you. It's very nice.
What do we owe you there? What's the damage? No. You take that. Al, do you want one? Here, you take that. Dave, you want one? Sure? That's yours. Keep it. It's all yours. It's all yours. Good man.
That's very nice of you. Take care of the guy and everything.
Was the Groucho Marx line the only tip you leave is your fingertips?
Hey, after you showed your bartender on the air the other night, I figured, you had to be a good tipper.
John Franco's here. Everybody's coming by. Hey, John.
Hey, John. How are you? Mike Nickius is the batter. Nickius making just his second major league start. You remember he caught Henry Mejia's first start in Chicago, but has not started the game since then. Batting here with 2 out and a runner at first. Looking for his first big league hit. And Nickius takes below the knees. Mike played in AA and AAA this year at a combined .276 with 5 home runs. Originally drafted by Texas in '04, the Mets picked him up in a trade for Victor Diaz when they traded Diaz to the Rangers.
The outfielder, Victor Diaz.
The very one. Nickius hits one up the middle, and he's got his first big league hit. Davis pulls in at second, and they'll take that baseball out of play. Mike Nickius at age 27 finally gets that first major league hit.
Well, that's always one you'll remember. I'm sure Mr. Franco behind us remembers his first save, his first strikeout.
Yeah, but does he remember his first big league hit?
Oh, he got a fastball down the pipe. And there you go. Simple, isn't it?
Looks like a simple game from here.
Let me tell you, all that stuff you fail 70% of the time, that's baloney.
Well, if you're really good, it's only 65% of the time. You've been there. Here's John Neese with 2 men on. And he takes the breaking ball down for ball 1. Here's your IOTV pitch differential.
Well, he wants it away, and it's down the middle. And around mid-thigh. That's trouble.
And that will cause you to smile for a long time to come.
Well, thank goodness the pitchers can't always put it where they want. Or there'd be no 300 hitters. Oh, look at this defense shot. Mr. Webb is pulling out all the stops. Like it. This is terrific.
1-1 to Neese. And he takes the fastball for a strike. 1-2. John's got 10 hits this year, 4 runs batted in. Jose Reyes would be next. Check swing. Did he go? And Neese apparently held the swing in time. 2-2.
Well, we got 2 good hitting pitchers in the lineup today. Jonathan swings a good bat. That man right there can hit. He's one of the best hitting pitchers in the game today. But he should not be able to wear that jewelry when we play. They make him take it off.
Didn't Pascual Perez wear jewelry like that? In there for a call, strike 3. Neese down looking to end the inning. 3rd strikeout for Gallardo. Let's get a couple aboard. Can't get him around. We've played 2 innings in game 1 with no score. Wire available in HD, presented by IOTV. If you're not near a TV, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Got another game to go today and then another tomorrow against the Brewers before the Mets wrap up the season against the Nationals this weekend. And that's it. That's all we got.
Another year. Was it 5 years together?
This is our 5th year.
That's right.
And I know we'll have at least another. You'll be back next year, right?
We never argue.
Not yet.
We should be a marital counselor.
Well, you know,
Counselor.
they say 7 years, right?
That's true.
So give us
that's what our contracts run out, right?
Give us some time. Giovanni Gallardo, one of the best hitting pitchers in the game, leading off in the 3rd against John Neese.
You mean the 7-year itch, or?
Exactly.
Wasn't there a movie? There was a movie. Marilyn
That
Monroe.
was Marilyn Monroe, Tom Ewell. Remember it very well.
It's hard to forget Marilyn. I loved her in Bus Stop. That wasn't Bus Stop. It was the one with Clark Gable. Oh, I was in Montgomery Clift and Eli Wallach.
The Misfits.
The Misfits. What
That was a great movie.
What a great movie.
2-2 to Gallardo, and he lifts one foul. Gallardo's got 4 home runs this year amongst his 16 hits. There are other hitters who can hit for average, but in terms of power, the only guy comparable to Gallardo in the game right now is Carlos Zambrano. Gallardo has 8 career home runs. And he takes a fastball, strike 3 call. So Nice has his 3rd strikeout. 1 down in the 3rd.
Well, plenty of plate. I think he was looking for a breaking ball. Is he that good to look for a breaking ball?
So 1 out, Ricky Weeks coming up. By the way, thank you for that hot dog. It was delicious. I had forgotten how good those ballpark hot dogs can be.
They are good.
I don't eat a lot of hot dogs, but there's something about a hot dog at the ball game. It's better than steak at the Ritz.
The only gripe I have with hot dogs are that you make you burp, and when you burp, oh boy, you got to clear out. You clear a room.
Well, you don't want to be burping on the air either. You can clear everybody's room. Ricky Weeks takes the strike. Weeks had an infield hit his first time up. John Nice made his debut against the Brewers a little over 2 years ago. And Weeks shoots one past Davison into right field for a base hit. He'll take the turn, head to second. Carter doesn't have a great arm. And Weeks easily at second base with a 1-out double. So Ricky Weeks has his 32nd double of the year.
Well, they've taken Jonathan the other way, and there's that breaking ball again, just sitting up there. It's just way too slow and lazy, and the hitters are adjusting. The radar gun said it was 75 mile an hour. He's got to get that one a little more velocity.
So here's Corey Hart, who struck out his first time up. 4 hits now for the Brewers against John Nice.
There's the cutter right there, and I think that is more effective than that slow curve. The cutter in on the hands is coming in of, almost a fastball velocity. So that gets the hitter's attention in, and then it opens up the outside corner for that slow hook.
Line the other way, and Hart's got a base hit. Carter gets over there, cuts it off. Around third comes Weeks with the first run of the game. And in at second with a run-scoring double is Corey Hart. It's 1-0 Milwaukee. So Hart drives in his 98th run of the year.
Don't you think Hart doesn't want 100? And there they are. That ball's down the outer half, a ball you could pull or go the other way. So that's got to tell Jonathan that he better start pitching more inside. That they are, the right-hand hitters are, look at that. That's hitting the ball right up at the plate. And that's how you drive a pitch to the opposite field. And I think that Nice is going to have to start coming in.
Now, he had come in on the previous pitch, and we were talking yesterday about setting up hitters, getting them worried in to have a better chance of getting them out of the way. But you still have to make a better pitch, right?
Yes, and he's got to pitch more, establish more in. Oh, there's a good curve right there. That's the best one he's thrown. And you see it was 75 miles an hour, but he got on top of it and had good rotation and good break. He got Braun in the first inning on a pitch. He broke his bat inside.
Got him to hit into a double play. Now Braun bats with a runner at second and 1 out. And he pops one up. Davis coming back into foul ground and catches it coming over his shoulder. Hart tags, withdraws the throw, and stays put. And that's the second out. So Braun is retired, 2 away. And that'll bring up Prince Fielder, who struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. The game is underway in Atlanta this afternoon. The Braves, who beat the Marlins last night 3-2, trying to expand their lead in the National League wild card race. They're a game and a half now ahead of San Diego. Hit toward the middle. Tejada can't knock it down, and that'll enable Hart to come home with the inning's second run. Even though Tejada was playing well out into the outfield in the shift, couldn't quite get there to smother it. And Fielder's base hit makes it 2-0 Milwaukee.
Another breaking ball here that Jonathan gets hurt on. And this one he just leaves. It's up there. It's hanging. And got it away enough where fielder couldn't put it into the seats. Nice effort by Tejada.
So 2 runs are home. Here's Casey McGee swinging and missing at a fastball. McGee flying to center his first trip. The Brewers have Ron at 100 RBIs, Hart with 98, and McGee with 99. So they're on the verge of having 3 100 RBI performers. This is low and in, 2-1. Good cutter, and it's 2-2.
I think Jonathan, we've always watched Jonathan pitch, and it's which breaking ball he has is more effective. In this afternoon's game, his cutter's more effective than his curve. And there's another sign right there if you're a pitcher. That's McGee right there on an inside fastball, getting beat inside, hitting it down into the Mets dugout on the first base line. It's just always right-hand hitters are set up away to go the opposite field.
So the best way to counteract that is
pitch in. You don't have to throw it for a strike. You can brush someone back. If you're worried, okay, this is the power hitter, he might just, be looking in there one time and he might turn the fan on, as Frank Howard would say, and wrap it around a foul pole. Well, you don't have to throw it for a strike. You can establish inside by pitching it inside off the plate, up and in.
That fastball just low, and it's 3-2. Well, and that's also where they've talked about he's doing more work establishing his changeup, which is very much a 4th pitch for him right now. Now Fielder will be on the move with 3-2 and 2 out. And McGee takes one the other way, and Carter will have to play it on a couple of hops. Fielder to third. Heading for second is McGee as the throw comes wildly into the infield. It's the 3rd double of the inning as McGee is on second. And the Brewers taking advantage of Carter's weak arm in right field.
There's another helicopter right there. Flat slider away. And I don't know what Chris was thinking here. Just throwing in looked like he had a hand grenade there.
Randy Neiman, who is filling in for Dan Warthen. Randy normally in the bullpen. Dan away with the funeral of his brother. And so Neiman taking the trip to the mound to talk to Neese.
Neese needs to get on top of more on that breaking ball. Whenever you throw a flat breaking ball. You can see Jonathan's flustered. See the expression. He was on top of the world just a month and a half ago. Boy, this game will come back and bite you.
Well, we've seen more of that lately from John as the results have gone south on him. He has been less unflappable than earlier in the season as Lorenzo Cain fouls off the first pitch.
Well, adversity makes a better man of you. You find out what you're made of. And, there's very few players that played this game that pretty much had it their way most of their career, or for a great majority of their career. I couldn't imagine Ted Williams hitting 400. I mean, gosh, and still, you're failing 60% of the time.
Neese gets ahead on Cain 0-2. Cain singled to center his first time up. The Brewers now with 2 runs and 7 hits. Big spot here for John. Base hit could make it 4-0.
So you see right now he just pounded the strike zone in twice inside. So I think Randy Neiman went out there and said, they're taking the opposite field. You have got to start pitching in.
Fielder and McGee in scoring position. And again, he comes inside with a fastball, 2-2. And Kane lines one into center field, a base hit. That brings home fielder McGee right behind him. Pagan's throw is way offline. 2-run score. Kane winds up on second, and it's 4-0 Milwaukee. And the big inning has bitten John Neese again.
And he's getting hurt again on the breaking ball, Gare. Helicopter. And it's no break, it's staying flat, and that means he's dropping that elbow instead of getting on top to get the downward tilt. It's not that long ago when he was on top of his game. We were remarking about how his cutter was so good because it broke down as well as into a right-hand hitter. It's flat today.
And you have to wonder whether the number of innings that he's piled up this year is starting to have an impact on him.
Well, wants it down and in, and there it is. It's got up and belt high, and that's your IOTV pitch differential.
Well put.
Thank you.
Ryota Igarashi gets up in the Mets bullpen as Neese struggles here in the third. Lucroy fouls it off, and it's 0-2. Lucroy single to right his first time up. Well, Neese has already had 5 innings this year in which he's given up 5 or more runs, and he's right on the verge of another one, having given up 4 here in the third. And he's been getting pounded lately here at Citi Field. 1-2 now to Lucroy. The 5 5-run innings against Neese matches the most in the major leagues this year. One, 2 to Lucroy, and that's low. So part of a young pitcher's education is about putting out the fire and limiting the damage in what could be a big inning. Luis Cruz on deck, the number 8 hitter. And another base hit to right field. Here comes Kane around third. He races for the plate.
What is going on?
Carter makes another terrible throw, and down to second base goes Lucroy. 5-0 Milwaukee. Well, they are exposing Chris Carter in this inning. He is just not a big league outfielder in terms of his arm strength.
Well, yes, Gare, and that's a fastball away, nicely hit. But you got to hit a cutoff man here. It's almost like he has the yips.
Well, that enables Lucroy to go to second base. So for the 6th time this year, Neese has given up 5 or more runs in an inning. And the curveball misses to Cruz, the 9th man up in the inning. Cruz hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. 4 straight hits after 2 were out in this inning have made a bad inning into a terrible one for John Neese.
Wow. Oh boy, right down the pipe right there. Well, one thing you can do to help Chris Carter is, you know, you're in your normal cutoff position, the first baseman. You got to get in that in the dirt. Get up there a little further, closer to him to help him out.
And another base hit. Around third comes Lucroy, and he'll trot in to score.
Wow.
And it's 6-0.
Well, at some point, someone's got to go down.
5 straight 2-out hits against John Neese, and that's going to be all for Neese today and for his season. The worst possible way for John Neese's rookie year to come to an end. Getting knocked out in the 3rd inning here at Citi Field by the Milwaukee Brewers. So Neese takes his exit. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. And Ryota Igarashi will come on to replace Neese. We'll be right back. Got only 8 outs and gave up 10 hits, including 5 straight 2-out hits to end his afternoon. And Yota Igarashi will try and clean up.
Well, there's Igarashi's numbers, and it hasn't been a good year for him. That ERA is pretty telling. A lot of walks, a lot of hits, a lot of strikeouts. He is just overthrown. Ever since he went down with that hamstring, he has never been the same.
He'll come in to face the pitcher, Yovani Gallardo. No automatic out. Gallardo began the inning by striking out. And now he bats with Cruz at first and 2 out and 6 runs home in the inning. And Gallardo takes a strike. Well, there had been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about the possibility of limiting John Neese's starts, limiting his innings coming down the stretch of the season, and the decision was made to let him ride it out. As Gallardo lifts one to the outfield and Pagan has it lined up, and it just makes you wonder whether perhaps he would have been better served by shutting him down. That's second guessing, but certainly it has not ended well for Neese.
It also provides an excuse here.
Tickets start at $15. Get your seats direct from the Mets at Mets.com.
Okay, we got out of that inning. Barely our hide. Got shot up by the posse.
Got to circle the wagons there. Jose Reyes leads off the bottom of the third as the Mets try and rebound against Yovani Gallardo. Reyes hit one the other way and doubled just inside the left field line in the first inning. And Gallardo gets ahead of him 0-1. So Gallardo, who has really had the Mets number whenever they faced him over the last few years, now has himself a 6-run bulge. 1-1 to Reyes with Duda and Pagan to follow here in the home third. Pulled toward the hole and Fielder with a nice backhand play. Gallardo beats Reyes to the bag. 1 away. Nicely done by Prince Fielder.
Well, Prince has got good hands, anything he can get to. Boy, he throws a bullet at Gallardo. A look in over the middle, like George Myra. I should be more contemporary. Remember George Myra?
I mean, you could at least say Steve Young.
Well, folks, George Meyer was the backup quarterback for John Brody when I was a kid growing up with the 49ers, and he couldn't throw a soft pass to save his tail, but he could throw a bullet. He can throw a laser beam across the field.
There's Lucas Duda, and he takes below the knees for ball one.
That, my producer just asked if Gene Washington was on that team.
Gene Washington was with
Abe Woodson, R.C. Owens, back in those days. Jeez.
Well, the thing is that our producer is younger than you are, and he's trying to show off that he's younger than you are.
That's when, oh gosh.
Duda takes a fastball on the inside edge, and it's 1-2. Yvonne Gallardo, who was born in Mexico but went to high school in Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he made it to the big leagues in a big hurry. Biggest problem for Gallardo his first 2 years in the majors was staying healthy as Duda flips one into left field for a base hit. It's a nice skill that Duda's got with 2 strikes.
Yes, he does. And what impresses me is what Ralph Kiner said when I asked Ralph about Duda's swing, and Ralph likes Duda's swing. If he's got a chance, I agree.
That looks like something you might have done with 2 strikes.
Yes, very good. Very nicely done. You got to, hey, when you're in a hole, you can't go up there swinging for downs. But, you know, you don't want to swing like you're a Judy up there or a pin hitter. But you got to wait and protect and go up the middle.
You know the great Negro League star Judy Johnson?
No.
Was he a Judy hitter?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But he's in the Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't think that came from that. I think it's purely a very macho phrase.
It's a punch and Judy.
Yeah, punch and
Judy.
Judy. Right, exactly. So.
Pagan struck out his first time up.
Glad you clarified that.
Punch and Judy, like Punchinello.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Like the puppet show.
Yeah, so they're marionettes, right?
Right. Another reference that indicates we are aging.
No fooling.
Faster than just about anybody. 2-0 to Pagan. And late on a fastball, it's 2-1. Boy, Gallardo just keeps throwing the ball by people.
Oh, John Franco and a Ron Darling sighting.
Starters and relievers who can talk to each other.
But there's a lot of bull flying there.
Ronnie just prepping for his Game 2 assignment. It's kind of like when he was a starting pitcher and he pitched the second game of a doubleheader. Get to the ballpark during the first game, get himself ready, psych himself up, ready to trade spots with you for Game 2. Gallardo behind on Pagan, 3-1. And Angel pops it up right near the mound. Who's going to get it? Guy with the biggest glove grabs it for the second out. So two-way. Now David Wright has struck out his first time up. In Atlanta, they're in the bottom of the second inning. Braves and Marlins no score. The other games of import in the National League will all be late tonight. San Diego is hosting Chicago with Chris Young pitching for the Padres, who are desperate for a win now. 2 games out in the division and a game and a half out in the wild card. And the Giants host Arizona with Tim Lincecum on the mound. The Giants moved Lincecum up a day to pitch tonight so that he would be available if they have a 1-game playoff on Monday with San Diego.
Boy, San Diego, what a disappointment that would be if they fall short.
Well, since the 25th of August, when the Padres had a 6.5 game lead, they are 11-21. So they had the 10-game losing streak during that span.
Giants are. There's the playoff picture.
Of course, the Giants and Padres finished the season playing each other this weekend.
But what a job Bruce Bochy did. The Giants just kind of hung around, and they got a winning road record as well as home.
Right floats one into left field. That falls for a base hit. Duda pulls in at second. So David is 1 for 2. So the Mets have runner in scoring position for the third straight inning against Gallardo.
First hanging breaking ball right there. Off the end of the bat.
Well, Atlanta's in a super great position now with a game-and-a-half lead in the wild card, and with the Giants and Padres getting set to play each other this weekend. It's almost impossible for them to blow it at this point, I think, unless they lose their last 4 games.
They got to win. In a situation like this, Gare, you got to take care of yourself. The only game you have control over is the game you're playing in. You get W's and you're ahead. No one's going to catch you.
Here's Ike Davis, who walked his first time up. Mets are 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position so far today, trailing 6-0 in the third.
You know, I have too many bad memories about, being in second place in September, having to win in '85, of course, and in '87 when the Cardinals edged us. It puts the pressure on you, and it wears on you the month of September, going to the ballpark every day, knowing that you got to win. You can't afford to lose.
Chris Carter on deck. I thought it was instructive last night that the guy who got the big hit off the bench for the Braves was Eric Hinsky, who's been in the World Series each of the last 3 years with 3 different teams and trying to make it with a 4th this year. There's a reason those guys find themselves in the right place at the right time. 3-0 now to Davis. Guy like Orlando Cabrera, who seems to be in the postseason every year. And he's again this year with Cincinnati.
And then you have those that have never been in. Mr. Sweeney, I believe, with the Phillies.
He's going for the first time. So is Roy Halladay. There's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So Ike has walked for the second time. And the Mets have the bases loaded with 2 down, and Chris Carter coming up.
I don't think Gallardo, once he fell behind, wanted to deal with Ike. I think they respect his power. It's pretty amazing, a rookie. I know Ike's had a wonderful season, but to be that cautious or respectful, I call it cautious. It's a little amazing, but.
Well, the 2 walks for Ike give him 69 for the year, which now put him in the club lead. He's got 1 more than David Wright.
He's second among National League rookies behind Jason Hayward.
So here's Carter with the bases loaded and 2 down. And he takes the breaking ball just inside.
He wanted that strike. It was critical. First ball, fastball hitter, and Carter. Bases loaded, no wiggle room. Good curveball, didn't get the call from Bob Davidson. Now he's 1-0. He's got to throw a strike here. Doesn't want to get 2-0.
That's been a little better with the bases loaded lately, but still looking for their first grand slam of the season. Carter's got 3 home runs this year. Gallardo's given up only 10 home runs in 30 starts this year. That's phenomenal.
Carter bloops one shallow left field. That's going to fall for a base hit. In to score is Duda. Right behind him. He scores. It's a 2-run opposite field hit for Chris Carter. And the Mets get on the board. It's now 6-2 Milwaukee.
Well, Carter gave 2 runs with his poor throws from the outfield, and then he gives 2 back for the Mets. And I thought Ron could have dove for this ball and had it. Look at that. He could have dove. Oh, well.
Of course, if you dive and miss, that's a 3rd run that's going to score. Or maybe not. So Carter drives in a pair. His 21st and 22nd runs batted in. Rick Peterson out to the mound to talk to Gallardo. It's never too warm for a jacket. And here's Ruben Tejada. Ruben flying to left his first time up after his big day yesterday. Well, we had been told that Raul Valdez was going to start on Saturday for the Mets. He still might, but he's up in the bullpen this afternoon. So here's Tejada with 2 out and 2 on and 2 runs in. And he takes a slider for a strike. Tejada yesterday became the youngest Met player to record a walk-off hit since 1965.
Are you kidding?
When 20-year-old Ed Kranepool had a walk-off hit against the Milwaukee Braves. Now, there has been some discrepancy about Ruben Tejada's birthday because Major League Baseball's records had his birthday as September 1st, which would have made him already 21. The Mets media guide has him on October 27th, which would mean he's still 20.
What is it?
It's October 27th.
They didn't confuse the years.
Same year, so he's still 20. 1 and 2. Ruben was asked directly today just to confirm. You've never forgotten when your birthday was, have
No.
you? October
2020.
Think of Mickey Mantle's.
Juan Marichal.
There you go. Mantle and Marichal.
You bet your sweet
That's a
Bippy.
pretty good trifecta right there.
Yes, sir.
Mantle, Marichal, Hernandez.
How can I go wrong?
Ricky Weeks scoops it and makes the flip to end the inning. But the Mets scratch back for a couple of runs as they load him up against Giovanni Gallardo. And Chris Carter brings in a pair. 6-2 Milwaukee after 3. Brewers got 6 runs in the top of the 3rd, knocking out John Neese. And the Mets got 2 runs at the bottom of the 3rd. Ryota Igarashi came on to get the final out in the 3rd inning, stays on for the 4th to face the top of the Milwaukee batting order. Ricky Weeks will lead things off against Igarashi. A chance for Igarashi to get himself some extended work. He has not been to the mound in 19 days. Weeks is already 2 for 2, an infield single and an opposite field double. And he takes off the plate for ball 1. When the Mets brought in the 2 Japanese pitchers in the offseason, Igarashi and Takahashi, it was Igarashi who they thought would play the larger role this year. In fact, they gave Ryota Igarashi a 2-year contract.
Well, I loved Igarashi and felt that Takahashi was, being a left-hander with a changeup, was someone that could start, go long relief. And I just thought that Igarashi had really overpowering stuff, but it has not turned out that way.
In the air to left center, and Duda circles around it. One away. So one out now. Corey Hart, who doubled to right to drive in the first Milwaukee run, his 98th run batted in of the season. Interesting that Igarashi has gone away from his windup, which he was using earlier in the year.
Well, it's because he's been overthrowing. I think they want to get him where he can't get the full windup. So he really jerks his head when he throws, too. And it's not doing it as, it's not as pronounced from the stretch. You know what they say, if you try to throw it harder and harder and harder, the hitters hit it harder and harder and harder. You're supplying some of that power.
It's a good split from Igarashi. Well, it's what Bob Apodaca, when he was pitching coach for the Mets, always referred to as caveman baseball. Right. If I'm in trouble, if I'm cornered, I'm just going to try and throw it harder and harder and harder.
Right.
And the results are generally worse and worse.
Is that a reference to Geico?
I don't believe so. I believe that reference actually predated the Geico caveman campaign. I give Bob Apodaca an immense amount of credit. He did a great job as pitching coach for the Mets, and he survived all these years as the pitching coach in Colorado. Yep. Where that is not the easiest job in the world.
Well, when I came up, Bob was just in his second year. He was kind of like the Jim McAndrews of those old staffs, where he threw spot started and threw long relief, breaking ball pitcher. He knew how to pitch. It wasn't overpowering. And I think those guys can become really good pitching coaches because they had to learn with marginal stuff how to get people out.
3-2 to Hart, and he swings and misses at the splitter, and Igarashi has his first strikeout. So 2 out and nobody on. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., Jets defensive tackle Chris Jenkins joins Chris Carlin and Adam Shine to talk about the latest news from Gang Green on the next Loudmouths presented by Geico, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 6 p.m. only on SNY. You realize that because we have a game right now, we have derailed the New York Sports Local for today.
Really?
They would normally be on right now. All those shows, Wheelhouse, Loudmouths, Daily News Live. But here we are on SNY instead. People are tuning in to hear these folks argue and discuss various sports topics, and instead they get you and me.
Well, we can do that. You know, I think the Jets are going to have a tough time up there.
No,
that's going to be a tough.
If you're going to do it, no, you can't do it like that. You got to yell. You got to talk louder. You got to make your point. We could sit here and yell at each other for the next inning or so. What do you think?
I think that I'm very much afraid of that game up in Buffalo, Gare.
See, that's more like it. That's the ticket. Ryan Braun has grounded into a double play and fouled out to first, 0 for 2. And Igarashi threw the fastball by him, 1-2. Igarashi looking a little sharper here today than we've seen him. And maybe it is ditching the windup that's helped him.
He's throwing strikes.
That's a good split to go with it. Bob Apodaca walked you 5 times in 9 plate appearances.
Really?
By the way, must have had some.
I didn't have much
trepidation.
I was only 1 for 4, so I didn't face him that much. He was one of the guys that when I came to the big leagues, the big difference was they can throw the breaking ball 3-1, 2-0, throw you a backdoor hook. Jim Lomborg was that way with the Phillies then. Of course, after he had the injury, he wasn't the same pitcher that he was in '67.
The skiing accident.
Yep. With Jill St. John.
Really?
I believe so.
Ran with a fast crowd.
We'll have Dave look it up.
Carter makes the catch on Braun's fly ball, so Igarashi's faced 4 and retired 4. Middle of the 4th, 6-2 Milwaukee. New York. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You know, guys, as this Mets season comes to a close and some guys start to make plans, you know, a lot of those plans involve winter ball, and some play for the necessity of it to keep, you know, getting better and to keep getting noticed by teams, and some play for the love of the game. Take Jesus Feliciano for one. He's been playing winter ball for 98, and he's had to. You know, he didn't make the major leagues till this year, and he's going to play again this year in Puerto Rico. There's only been 1 year he hasn't played in Puerto Rico, which is he plays about 10 minutes from his hometown, and that was a year that they did not have winter ball there, so he ended up playing in Venezuela. But you know, he keeps going, and the difference this year, though, is that you normally he's about 5 weeks off after the minor league season. This year it'll start October 22nd, so he'll get a couple weeks off. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, like Henry Blanco, who has played winter ball every year he's been in big league baseball down in Venezuela, and he starts right away. Winter ball down there starts October the 12th. It won't get done until just before spring training, and I asked him why. He said, I love playing the game. He said, you know, I look at what I do during a full year. I mean, I'm active, but I'm getting what, 150 at bats, maybe 200 at bats. He's like, I go and play there every day. I hone my skills, and most importantly, I love it. You know, I don't want to look back later in life and think that I missed any opportunity to play the game. Pretty cool statement from Henry Blanco, right, guys?
That is amazing. At age 38, that he'd be going down and playing a full season of winter ball. I could see playing for a week or two just to, you know, kind of put in appearances, because it's very important for players to play in their home countries. But to play the full season, that's amazing.
Well, back when I was young and coming up, you had to play the full season. Everybody had to play. I mean, they've gotten a lot more liberal down there as far as players, major league players, having to play. As Nikias goes down a fastball, strike three.
And speaking of Jesus Feliciano, he'll come to bat here with one out to pinch hit for Igarashi. So a nice outing for Rio to Igarashi in relief.
I know I've said this a million times, but the Caguas Leones in Puerto Rico, when I played back in 1975, had Willie Montañez at first base. Behind the plate was Jose Morales. The outfield was Jose Cruz in right, Sixto Lezcano in left, and in center field was Jerry Morales from the Cubs. Second base was Felix Millan. He had Eduardo Figueroa was pitching. Craig Swan was a starter. It was just an all-star, almost it was a major league team.
Well, in those days also, when major league players weren't getting paid as well, there was a financial incentive to go down there, which doesn't exist for most major league players now.
I remember getting paid I played in Ponce, and we were terrible. And I was terrible. And we got paid in cash.
Feliciano bloops one, and that'll fall for a base hit. So Jesus comes through as a pinch hitter, a role he struggled in this year. Yeah, the Mets have their 6th hit off Gallardo.
We got paid in cash, and there'd be a big payroll there. And I remember Louis Arroyo was the general manager. He paid us, the old Yankee. And he had a Colt 45 revolver on the desk with him. As he paid us all the cash, we'd line up and we all got paid that in a big line.
One out and one on. Here's Reyes, who has doubled and grounded out 1 for 2. So you got paid okay?
Yeah, and never got robbed.
Because there have also been guys who've gone down to winter ball and, you know, teams folded or there wasn't enough money to make payroll. Those things happen too.
We took a bus all the time with no air conditioning. We had the windows open. It was hot down there. That's all part of it, though. You know? It was fun.
Part of the experience.
I lasted around 3.5 weeks. I was hitting the buck and change. They sent me home.
You know, guys, Blanco's doing some recruiting. He's trying to get Chris Carter and Manny Acosta to join him. Looks like Carter will. And Chris is getting married in the offseason, so I think the convincing about the honeymoon in Venezuela is what's going on. What's going on there?
Beautiful beaches.
But you know what? I asked Josh Tolley. Now, he played in Venezuela in winter ball last year, and I asked him about Henry Blanco and him in winter ball in Venezuela, and Josh said rock star. That's the reception that Henry Blanco gets.
Not surprising. That's what he gets in most major league clubhouses. But is Josh going back? I know he had a rather interesting time in Venezuela last year.
He is not.
I mean, things have gotten, you know, pretty volatile at times in Venezuela over the last few years, and Josh felt a little unsafe at times, holed up in his hotel room.
Wild horses couldn't drag me there, to be honest with you.
2-1 to Reyes.
And he drives one to deep right field. Corey Hart won't get this. It's one hop up against the Mo zone. Feliciano digging for third. Chip Hale's waving him home. He'll score. Reyes heads for third. Sliding in with a 3-base hit. Ball gets away. Reyes breaks for the plate, and he scores. 2 runs come home, and the Brewers' lead is cut to 6-4. Reyes with a triple scores on the error, and the Mets have fought back to within 2.
Well, where's the pitcher? This is Ronnie's pet peeve. And there's Hart playing shallow, gets burned. It's an automatic triple. Now the relay man should know better here. Weeks not to throw with Reyes' speed. There's plenty of time to look over his shoulder. But where is the pitcher?
Jose Reyes, safe at home, safe and secure. New York life.
And Giovanni Gallardo Omui Malo.
It's the 10th triple of the year for Reyes, and look at him run.
Well, you can fly. Look at Gallardo just standing on the mound. What is he thinking? Chip Hale, he doesn't get much action lately. Pitcher's just standing around.
Chip hit the dirt because he thought there might be a throw going right past his ear.
Duda hits one down the right field line, headed back toward the stands, and it's out of here. Lucas Duda with his 3rd big league home run, and now it's 6-5. So facing one of the best pitchers in the National League, the Mets fall behind 6-0, and now they fought back to within a run. Duda with his 3rd home run.
You go, Lucas. He is strong. I think it's the breaking ball trying to go a cutter in. Yes, sir. It didn't cut, and he got the barrel through. Nicely done. He got shot.
Well, he's got a little flip single to left and a powered home run to right. Rick Peterson makes another visit to Giovanni Gallardo, who has been really good in September, a 1.95 ERA, but struggling today.
Oh, he got it inside, but it's up. I just didn't. You know what? It's just a lazy breaking ball. He got it on the inside corner, so you might say, geez, he didn't hang it. It should have broke, in a downward tilt around 4 inches. It broke only an inch, so it was just a little helicopter.
So now Angel Pagan will try and keep it going. 3 runs are home here in the 4th inning after the Mets played it a couple in the 3rd. Pagan is 0 for 2, struck out and popped to first base. And Pagan lays off. It's a strike, 0-1. Pagan just 3 hits in his last 28 at bats. It was thought for some time that he might be able to maintain a 300 average. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. He's at 288 now. But it has still been a tremendous breakout season for Angel Pagan.
Well, the Mets have a chance now to get to 1 under 500. They can come back and win this ball game.
Slap the other way, and Pagan's got a base hit. 4 straight hits for New York, and now they've got the tying run aboard with 1 out. David Wright coming up. So Pagan on 0-2 takes one the other way.
And it looks like Gallardo is getting caught up in what happened to Jonathan Neese. If you look at Manny Parra up for the Brew Crew.
You rolled your R there. That's right now.
With a double R, you've got to give it the extra roll. There's a difference between perro and perro. If you're a perro, you're a dog.
That's very
if it's
impressive.
perro, it's butt.
You always told me you didn't speak Spanish.
That's very basic stuff.
That's right. It was 1 for 2. Single to left his last time up, and Gallardo sends one down. 1-0. The Mets have not come from 6 runs down to win all year. They've come from 5 runs down on several occasions. Here's your PPG Pittsburgh Paints overhead camera. Taking a look at Wright and his position in the batter's box. Pagan with 35 stolen bases this year, 2nd in the National League. He's carrying the tying run after the Mets trailed this game 6-0. And the curveball sits high. 2-0 to right. All of a sudden, Gallardo is just falling apart at the seams.
He's gotten away from his fastball, Gare, much like Jonathan Nice did.
About to throw his 85th pitch of the game. There goes Pagan. Lucroy's throw comes into the runner, and Pagan is safe with his 36th stolen base of the year.
That's something for Angel to shoot for, 40 stolen bags. That'd be nice.
So now the tying run is in scoring position with a 2-1 count to Wright, who's sitting on 98 RBIs for the season. And now Gallardo behind 3-1 with Ike Davis on deck. The Mets had never been able to hit Gallardo much. 3 career starts. He had a 0.41 ERA against New York. Very different story here today. That's now with 5 runs and 9 hits. We're only in the 4th inning. And Wright hits one well to center field. Back goes Kane, looking up at the wall, and it's out of here. David Wright gives the Mets the lead with a 2-run homer. Number 28 for Wright. It gets him to 100 RBIs for the 5th time in his career, and the Mets have come from 6 runs down to lead it 7-6.
Boy, oh boy, is he falling apart. Gallardo, hanging curve. Congratulations, David. Right there on a tee. Kept his shoulder in, and that's it for Gallardo.
So both starters take an early exit. Nice out after 2 2/3, and now Gallardo gone after 3 1/3. Mets lead at 7-6. We'll come right back to Citi Field.
Bullpen.
As you see his numbers there, and it's all gone downhill for Manny.
Hard throwing lefty. Interestingly enough, we mentioned John Nice in his first big league start coming in Milwaukee. The starting pitcher for the Brewers that day was Manny Parra, who helped chase Nice in that game with a 2-run double. Mets ended up winning that game, and now they've got Nice off the hook in this game. And Davis lines one to the shortstop. And Cruz has it for the second out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Absolute Vodka. Enjoy the game with a cocktail perfected with Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for the 7th inning stretch. Absolute Vodka, cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. So now 2 out. Chris Carter drove in the first 2 Met runs with a single to left in the 3rd. Here in the 4th, Reyes with an RBI triple. He scored on Ricky Weeks' throwing error. Lucas Duda followed with a home run. Angel Pagan got a base hit, and then David Wright with a 2-run homer to put the Mets in front. By the way, Wright's now hit in 7 straight games, and he's got 5 home runs in that stretch. So David, who has had a season of fits and starts, finishing it very strong. Time to get to 100 RBIs. Have yourself a solid season. 1-2 to Carter, especially for a team that does not score a lot of runs. I mean, the Mets are 3rd from the bottom in the National League. Carlos Beltran back in uniform and on the bench. Have we heard results yet of his MRI? I don't think so. Carter strikes out, but the ball gets away from Lucroy, and Carter reaches base safely. And that prolongs the inning.
That'll be a wild pitch.
Sometimes when you swing recklessly, good things can happen.
Still 0 for 1. That's taking one for the team.
He's on first base. He can help his team.
That is taking one for the team.
There you go. Here's Ruben Tejada, who's 0 for 2. He's the 9th man up in the inning. The Brewers batted around in the 3rd inning, sent 10 men to the plate, scored 6 times. Now the Mets batting around here in the 4th inning. They've already scored 5 in this inning. Just the beginning of a long day and evening of baseball. Tejada thinks about dropping down a bunt.
So both teams have batted around. It's a real barn burner.
Reyes already with a double and a triple in this game. Letter high strike to Tejada, 1-1. So Gallardo goes 3 into 3rd. He allows 7 runs on 10 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a couple of home runs, and he is pitcher of record now on the short side of this 7-6 score. Tejada pulls off the fastball, and it's 1-2. Mike Nikias is sitting 8th in the order. He's on deck.
It's clouding up, Gare.
Well, the rain is on its way. It's going to get here sometime later tonight.
It is a band, folks, north and south. Not very wide. It's just coming up the coastline. It's just drenching Florida as we speak.
There goes Carter, but Tejada swings and foul tips it. It's held by Lucroy, and the inning is over. A couple of strikeouts for Parra, but 9 men came to bat in the inning. A big inning for New York. Reyes with a triple, Duda and Wright with home runs, and the Mets put together a 5-run 4th and lead at 7-6. The Huskies look for their third win as they finish their non-conference schedule against Vanderbilt at Rensselaer Field. Vanderbilt, UConn. Coverage begins with City pregame Saturday at 11:30 a.m. on SNY. Jesus Feliciano stays in the game in right field after picking up a pinch hit single. Raul Valdez on to pitch for New York, so he'll hit in the 6th hole with Chris Carter coming out of the game.
Well, Raul, the ERA is not sparkling. He's had fits and starts and stops and dashes and darts. It's been one that kind of year for him. Shown signs of brilliance and not so good signs of brilliance.
That was brilliant.
Kind of an erratic year.
That was just brilliant.
In 20 words or less.
So the 5th inning, it's 7-6 New York. We've only played 4 innings. There are only 3 regulars in this game who have not had a hit.
Oh, stop it. Let's play 2.
We will. We haven't even played half of one yet. Fielder had an RBI single in the Brewers' 6-run third against John Neese. And Valdez misses high, 2-0. Neese went 2 2/3, allowed 6 runs, 10 hits. Ryota Igarashi, now pitcher of record on the long side. He faced 4 batters and retired them all. And Fielder takes a strike, 2-1. Now, Jerry Manuel had said that Valdez was the leading candidate to start Saturday's game. He needed an extra starter because of the doubleheader. Into the shift, and Tejada boots it, but still has time and throws out Fielder, 1 away. So it remains to be seen whether Valdez can make this relief outing and still come back and start on Saturday. Let's check in with Kevin.
You know, guys, I got a chance to catch up with Willie Randolph yesterday and just take his mindset about getting a chance to become a manager again. And, of course, it's something he'd love to do. But I was picking his brain a little bit on the interview process and what goes into that when you're on a managerial interview. And he said, you know, it's really a lot different. You know, some teams are very specific, very situation specific, and some are more off the cuff. He said, the only thing I can tell you is, you know, what I can tell you, it's hard to find a pattern because every team is different. But what I have at least thought to become is more comfortable with the whole process. You know, you try to go in and know much about the team and as much about the organization as possible. But I've also been on interviews where I go in and they don't even ask me about the team. It's more about philosophy and leadership style and things like that. So, you know, you prepare as much as you can, but in some cases you can't prepare for what you're going to be asked. Teams want to know certain things about you, and in the end, you're hoping that you could find a fit where someone will allow you to implement your philosophy, you know, and get a chance to do your job for a couple of years. So we'll see if Willie gets that chance to go back out and maybe have a shot to be a manager again, guys.
I'll tell you one thing. There are a lot of organizations that are honing their interview process with the number of managerial openings that are likely to be this winter as Casey McGee draws a 1-out walk.
There's a bevy of openings, I believe there'll be.
And they would certainly think that Willie will be a prime candidate for at least a few of them. After all, he had one of the best managerial records of any Mets skipper in history. 544 winning percentage. 1 out and 1 on. Here's Lorenzo Cain, who's 2 for 2 and has driven in 2 runs. That's 5 in a row out of the strike zone from Valdez, and so Nikias takes a trip out to the mound. Here's your AT&T trivia question for today. Who had the most home runs and RBIs for the Mets in the decade of the 1970s? Most home runs and RBIs for the Mets in the 70s. Now, the interesting thing about the 70s is you had really 2 different decades for the Mets. You had the first half of the decade where you had most of the holdovers from the 69 and 73 teams, and then you had the second half of the decade when really the whole franchise was ripped apart, especially after the Seaver trade in 77. So who was there the whole time? Cranepool was there the whole time.
Yes, he was. Gosh, was Kingman there enough? Kingman hit a lot of bombs.
Yeah.
A lot of bombs.
He did.
But I don't believe it's going to be him.
2-1 to Cain. Of course, the Mets were not a big home run hitting franchise back in those days other than Kingman. So who else could have been around enough?
Rusty wouldn't have been around enough.
Well, Rusty came and left. That's tough. It's a tough question. 2-2 to Kane. And he pops one up. Reyes with an easy play onto the outfield grass. And there are 2 away. John Milner.
Possibly.
Was he around long enough?
But Milner never hit 20 home runs, did he? I thought he was an 18 guy. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but 18 for the Mets in that era, that was a substantial number.
How many years did John play?
Brooks Conrad with a 3-run homer for the Braves, and they're on top of the Marlins, 4-0 in the 4th. Braves trying to enhance their postseason credentials, a game and a half up in the wild card. Atlanta will have just 3 games to play after today, and they'll all be against the Phillies, who of course have already clinched the Eastern crown. Here's Lucroy taking inside for ball 1. John Lucroy 2 for 2, a couple of singles to right field. He's scored 1 and driven in 1.
So I see Milner hit 17 home runs in 72. Hit 23 home runs in 73. Hit 20 home runs in 74. Could be our man Kingman. Kingman comes in 75.
Sean Green up in the Mets bullpen.
Plays 58 games, Gary.
Yeah, but yeah, they traded him away. He was in Chicago by 78.
36 bombs that year. That's a tough question.
I would vote for Milner. I think that he's the answer.
I can't imagine it would be anybody. Kingman 37 home runs in 76. Milner 12 home runs 77.
I know it wasn't Don Hahn.
It's going to be Milner.
Here's the one.
Good call. Good call. Well, here's your favorite, Mr. Hebner.
1979.
6 games.
Like a statue. Richie was a tremendous player with the Pirates.
Oh, boy.
Not with the Mets.
The hockey swing.
He was the Robbie Alomar of his era. A guy who was a terrific player elsewhere, but not here.
Well, he absolutely hated it here in New York. And, boy, you come around the batting cage, and all he would do was just moan and groan around the batting cage about how much he hated it here.
2-2 to Lucroy, and he lifts one to left field. Duda edging back, and plenty of room to put it away and end the inning. So Valdez pitches an effective 5th. Hey, we've come halfway through the halfway.
7-6. Halfway to Dick.
Pride and Links. Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Manny Parra came in to get the final 2 outs in the bottom of the 4th after the Mets rallied for 5 runs to take the lead. Now he'll stay on to pitch the 5th with Mike Nickias to lead off. Nickias led off the 4th and struck out, but then Jesus Feliciano blooped a single as a pinch hitter, and that was the first of 5 straight hits, including a couple of home runs that put a 5 spot up for the Mets. Nickias picked up his first major league hit in the 2nd inning, a single up the middle. And they saved that ball for his trophy case. The Mets today are trying to do something they have not done in more than 4 years, and that has come from 6 runs down to win a game. Nickias pops one up, and Ricky Weeks retreating, 1 away. The last time the Mets came from 6 runs down to win, it was a memorable game, August the 22nd of 2006 against the Cardinals. The Mets won 8-7. That was the game that Albert Pujols and Carlos Delgado put on a home run exhibition. Delgado, if memory serves, hit his 400th home run that day. And then Carlos Beltran won it with a walk-off home run. Remember that game?
Yes, I do. That was your first double home run call, if I recall.
Yes, Jesus Feliciano. Maybe not my first, maybe the first one you heard.
Yes. That was a very good Met team, 2006.
Well, think of all the pieces that the Mets had in place in 2006. They had Delgado playing first base. They got a little lucky as far as Jose Valentin, who really didn't have a role on that team and then became the everyday second baseman 2 months into the year. You had Reyes and Wright playing at the top of their games. You had Cliff Floyd and everything that he brought to the table in left field. You had Beltran at the top of his game playing center.
The only really weak link on that team, and there was a good starting rotation, was the bullpen. It was a little sketchy.
Well, that became a problem when Wander Sanchez got hurt in the car accident at the end of July, and they made the trade for Roberto Hernandez. Guillermo Mota came on late in the year and pitched well for them, although he blew up in the postseason. And he had Wagner closing. 2-2 to Feliciano. And a swing and a miss, and Parra has his 3rd strikeout. 2 out and nobody on. I guess the thing is, when you look at 2006 and you look at what the Mets accomplished that year and the amount of youth that they had in their lineup, I guess it's somewhat surprising that we're sitting here 4 years later and this franchise is in the position that it's in.
Well, I never really felt that 2006 squad, and some of them are still here, the 2 cornerstones, obviously, Wright and Reyes, I never felt it was a real tight unit. I never felt that they were really a close unit. There was some division on that club that was just so talented. And over time, that catches up with you. You just can't run the table year in, year out. I said it, Gary, after that year was over when Molina hit the home run that ended the season. I said, it was their year to win. They were the best team in the National League.
But could you have predicted at that point that the Mets could have gotten to the verge the way they did the next year and let it get away the way they did, and then have a similar thing happen to them the following year? I mean, it's not like they fell apart in those years until the late stages.
Well, that's the demons that they have to contend with. I mean, they call it a collapse. There's another word for it. It was just 2 horrendous Septembers. You just don't want to have. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy.
In some ways, there's a better explanation for 2008. The bullpen just fell apart to an extent where, Jerry couldn't trust anybody. And of course, the collapse in 07 and the poor start in 08 cost Willie Randolph his job. And then the Mets perked up when Jerry took over, and it looked like they were going to make it. And then once Wagner got hurt, everything fell apart in September of 08. But 07, it was really there was no excuse.
Reyes hits one deep to left field. Back goes Braun, leaping, and he bounces off the wall. And Reyes has his third extra base hit of the game. 2 doubles and a triple for Reyes.
Well, we talked about defense, and Braun not really showing much there. Doesn't cover a lot of ground out there. This is a Brewer team that the outfield is going to be severely handicapped.
Jose Reyes, safe and second, safe and secure. New York Life. So now Lucas Duda, who's 2 for 3, hit his 3rd home run, just above the Mo zone in right field in the 4th inning. And he's got his batting average up above the Mendoza line. He's up to 217. It's been quite a climb. 12 hits in his last 26 at bats, including 3 home runs. Trying to pick up Reyes from second with 2 out. And the left-hander throws a curveball for a strike. The 3 extra base hits for Reyes today, giving 50 extra base hits for the season. Considering the time that he missed or was impaired because of the oblique injury, is pretty impressive coming out of the leadoff spot. 11 homers, 29 doubles, and 10 triples now for Jose. And Duda takes the curveball for a strike, 0-2. Lucas Duda has shown off his skills in this game. Advanced a runner with a ground ball his first time up. Flipped a base hit to left and scored on the 3rd, and then powered a home run to right his last time up. Now facing the lefty for the first time. And he bounces one out for Ricky Weeks to handle. And that retires the side. A double and 1 left. 5 in the books. When we come back, we'll look at the lineage of Mets first basemen over the years. I got one of them with me here. Mets are up 7-6 after 5. Seven to 6. We were talking earlier about Mike Davis and the fact that he has really solidified first base for the Mets this year, and certainly negates any need for making a deal in the coming years, as Luis Cruz leads off for the Brewers in the 6th inning. Mike's performance this year gives the Mets the chance for a long-term solution at first base. as Cruz lifts one to left, and that's the first out of the inning. And periodically, we like to look back at the lineage of certain positions in Mets history, and here are a few who have manned the position. Gil Hodges was the Mets' first ever first baseman in 1962. Ed Cranepool played the longest. He was a Met for 18 seasons. And of course, then there's Keith Hernandez.
Wow.
Leader who helped bring the Mets a championship.
Zeal.
Todd Zeal was the first baseman for the 2000 National League champions.
There's Mr. Olerud, one of the best first basemen the Mets have ever had.
Olerud had the highest single-season batting average in Mets history when he hit .354. Manny Parra stays in the bat for himself.
Gil Hodges that year was hit 9 home runs, and he shared it with Marv Throneberry, Marvelous Marvin, who hit .244 and had 16 home runs in that opening season in '62. Marv was a 4 in Stratomatic as you fielding.
That was not good.
He was not good. Gil was still a 2. And aging Gil Hodges was a 2 at first base.
Of course, Carlos Delgado was such a big part of the Mets National League East championship team in 2006. And then, of course, there's the flipping exploits of the current first baseman Ike Davis. Slow ground ball and Valdez off the mound. In 1969, of course, the Mets had a platoon at first base with Cranepool and Don Clendenin. They're the all-time leaders in games played at first base for the Mets, including Dave Magadan, who hit .328 for the Mets in 1990.
I never would have thought I would have been second on that list, but I guess I am. I played, 6.5 years here.
You hung around. Pretty successfully.
You had Tim Harkness that played first base back in the early 60s. Frank Thomas played first base. Jim Hickman played some first base. Hawk Taylor. Ed Brassoud, or was it Brassoud?
Brassoud, yeah.
Ken Boyer. Dick Stewart made an appearance. Sabota, that's the one that fooled you. 20 games at first base.
Don't ever remember him playing first base. Here's Ricky Weeks taking a strike. Those are the opening day first basemen each of the first 6 seasons, including Dick Stewart, Dr. Strangeglove.
And Dick Smith was the one that stumped Howie in '64. But Sabota played 20 games at first base and was a 4 there. He was an outfielder, of course. Tommy Davis played some first base. Bob Johnson. Shamsky.
You've done your homework.
JC, I got orders from my producer. Art Shamsky, J.C. Martin, Larry Stahl, Greg Goosen. Then up comes Mike Jorgensen in '68.
Greg Goosen, you know the quote from Casey Stengel about him? They asked him about Greg Goosen. He said he's 20 years old, and in 10 years he has a really good chance of being 30.
In '69, Cranepool played 106 games at first base. Cleon Jones played 15.
And then the Mets made the deal for Clendenin on the 15th of June. And I mentioned this last night. I find it fascinating. The Mets have won 2 world championships. And in each case, it was a trade for a first baseman that was really the move that put the franchise in the right direction. Clendenin during the season in '69, and then the trade for you in '83.
And of course, Don gave the Mets some leadership, veteran leadership.
Toward the middle of the diamond, and Weeks has a base hit, his 3rd of the game. Pagan gets it in quickly to hold him to a 2-out single.
Now, they got him from Clendenin from Montreal, didn't they?
Steve Renko was in that deal. He went to the Expos. Kevin Collins might have been in that deal as well.
And Clendenin, of course, was traded from the Pirates as Jerry comes out, probably to make a pitching change. But Stargell was coming forward and couldn't play the outfield. He wasn't quick enough, so they had to make a move, bring Stargell into first base, and then Clendenin was traded.
Sean Green will come in to face the right-hand batter Corey Hart. So Valdez will take an exit after an inning and 2/3 of effective relief. And Green will come on to pitch here in the top of the 6th inning. Trying to hang on to a 7-6 lead. We'll be right back. The 6th inning. Had a one-batter performance, striking out Jason Wirth Sunday in Philadelphia, and he gets ahead on Corey Harno in 1. You see the numbers on Sean. We were talking first baseman, and a few that we haven't mentioned in the discussion. We mentioned John Milner in the 1970s, but the guy who finished out the 70s was Willie Montañez playing first base.
Chitty Beep, as we used to call him. Willie used to always go around and say, Chitty Beep.
Huge jump for Weeks, and he steals the base with no problem at all. As he got an enormous jump on Green, 11th stolen base of the year for Weeks.
Let me tell you something about Willie Montañez. He had 30 home runs in Philadelphia that one year, and he was a heck of a fielding first baseman. But Willie had a lot of mustard on him. He was one of the greatest home run trots. I saw him one time hit a home run and round first base, almost on the cut of the outfield grass at second base and shortstop.
He had a style all his own.
And he was a great guy. I always loved Willie, but tremendous talent.
And then, when you came along, you obviously established an enormous defensive standard, among other things, at first base. And it took a while, but the Mets wound up having 3 pretty good defensive first basemen after you. They had Rico Brogna.
Yep.
They had David Segui for a relatively short period of time, and they had John Olerud.
Right.
Now, among the first basemen who played after you, is there one that you like to watch?
Well,
hard strikes.
There's not even a question. It's John Olerud.
So Green comes in and gets the job done. 7-6 New York. Who had the most home runs and RBIs for the Mets in the 1970s. And it was the hammer, John Milner.
John Milner was a dead pull hitter, folks. He was one of the hitters I dreaded playing first base, back or in, holding on a runner or playing behind. He hit top spin ground balls. He had a big top hand swing. He hit some overspin ground balls for me. It just scared the daylights out of him.
94 home runs in the 1970s. That was enough to give Milner the lead. Kingman was second and Rusty Staub was third. 338 RBIs. Craneful was second and Staub third as Pagan lines one to left and Braun gets back to grab it. Braun has had an adventurous day in left field. Makes that play for the first out. And there is the hammer, John Milner. Went on to play with Pittsburgh afterward with some success.
Well, I remember him making the final out in 1973 at Wrigley Field, that fogged-in day with a doubleheader.
I caught that little bloop, turned it into a double play.
It was extremely foggy that day, correct?
It was. There were about 3,000 people in the stands at Wrigley Field the day after the season ended. Makeup game that lifted the Mets to the National League East crown in '73.
Gosh, they had the A's right where they wanted them.
Well, if Yogi pitches Seaver and Matlack,
Well, you go to pitch George Stone.
George Stone in Game 6, and then Seaver on regular rest.
And even if George Stone loses, you go with Seaver fully rested Game 7. George Stone went, I think, 12-3 that year, correct?
He did.
I don't think he was going to beat the A's, but you never know. George, you're listening. I'm sorry. You probably could have beaten the A's. You had 12. You were 12-3.
David Wright 2 for 3 today, including a 2-run homer his last time up. And he hits one past the mound, and in comes Cruz to make the play. 2 out. So 2 out and nobody out. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Really emblematic of the way the season's gone for the Braves. Chipper Jones goes down, so Omar Infante becomes an everyday player, and he's nearly a batting champion. Martin Prado now out for the season, so Brooks Conrad steps in, and his first 2 days playing third base as a regular player. He's got huge hits for Atlanta. Nick Evans has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter, with the pitcher Green due up next. Mike Davis 0 for 1 and a pair of walks, lined out to short his last time up. That's got all 7 runs against the starter Giovanni Gallardo, who lasted just 3 1/3 after Gallardo was handed a 6-0 lead. Manny Parra has come in to stabilize things for Milwaukee. Has given up just 1 hit in relief.
Now, I must confess to the Met fans out there listening to this broadcast that I have been so savvy on Met first baseman history. I must give credit to Steve Barkin at Stratomatic. I had to empty out I have a flat roof in my Southampton home, and the rain's coming. We were on the road, and we had the big rain out.
Big storm.
I had to go up there and make sure my drains were all cleaned, not leaves in all the drains. There's 8 of them up there in that roof.
Right.
It's a flat roof.
What does this have to do with first baseman?
I couldn't do my research, so I called Steve, and Steve did it for me. So thank you, Steve.
That's ball 4, and Ike walks for the 3rd time today. So he's aboard with 2 out.
70 walks?
70 walks for Davis. Well, it seems as though they've all come in September. So now Nick Evans will be a pinch hitter, batting for the pitcher Green. He had the 6 hole. Evans started in left field last night. Wound up playing all 3 outfield positions. Finished the game in center field after Beltran left. And he went 0 for 4. And Evans lifts one down the right field line. It slices away and goes foul. Ruben Tejada out on deck. Evans has done a fine job since coming up in September, hitting at .333, a homer and 5 RBIs. And he takes a fastball for a strike from Parra, who's throwing hard, 95, and it's 0-2. Parra's worked 2 1/3 in relief. He struck out 3, walked 1, allowed just 1 hit, the double by Reyes in the 5th.
He's always been a hard thrower and got good stuff. His problem is command. There you go.
Lucroy knocks it down. 1-2.
It's a 60-footer going 40.
Now Parra throws to first. Mike Davis walking 3 times in a game. The 2nd time this season that he's done that. And the first time was relatively late in the year as well, late August against Florida. He's become a lot more patient later in the year. One and two to Evans, and he flares one right to the shortstop, and that retires the side. A walk and one left after 6, 7-6 New York. All right, Dickey goes for the Mets. Dave Bush for the Brewers in game 2. And there they are. Dickey going up against Bush.
I like Bush. He's got good stuff. Got good stuff. Got a good hook.
Elmer descends on to pitch for the Mets in the 7th inning. Ryan Braun leads off for the Brewers. Braun's gone 0 for 3 today. Grounded into a double play, fouled out to first, and fly to right. Part of the batting order up against Descends, who's out there every day at age 39. Pitched a 1-2-3 inning last night and wound up the winning pitcher. Prince Fielder on deck, and then Casey McGee for the Brewers in the 7th. Each team with 11 hits. The Brewers took a 6-0 lead against John Neese, but the Mets bounced right back. Took a 7-6 lead with a 5-run 4th, and have held it ever since.
Geez, Descends has done nothing but come in every day. Rubber arm.
He's had an incredible workload, especially in the second half of the season, rivaling Pedro Feliciano. Feliciano last night set the Mets club record for appearances in a season and tied major league records for most appearances over both a 3-year and a 4-year span. So he'll break those with his next appearance, which, you know, is more likely going to come sometime today.
Some guys are just blessed with a rubber arm, and Elmer is one of those.
There's a strike of the knees to Braun, 3-2. Well, the major league record for appearances belongs to Mike Marshall. He threw in 106 games in his Cy Young season with the Dodgers in '74.
He drove Gene Mauch, who was the manager of the Expos, to distraction. He wanted to pitch every day, every game.
And look, there's Feliciano up in the bullpen. Amazingly enough. Toward the hole, Reyes on the backhand. Plenty of time to plant. And the throw in the dirt, but Davis scoops it up. And Braun retired, one away.
Nice hustle down the line by Braun there. That ball was ripped, busted out of the box. But you're not going to beat this man's arm. Nice backhand. And we all know about the cannon. He just kind of teased him with that tap of the glove. But that's good hustle by Braun here in a meaningless game.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Prince Fielder, 1 for 3. Drove in a run of the Brewers' 6-run third. And he takes a strike from Descends. John Neese lasted just 2 2/3 today. Allowed 6 runs and 10 hits in his final start of the season. But the bullpen has been flawless. Igarashi faced 4 batters, retired them all. Valdez went an inning and a third. An inning and 2/3, no runs, 1 hit. Sean Green struck out the only man to face him. And now Descends working in the 7th. And Fielder pokes one foul, 1-2.
Well, I have seen Prince Fielder hit some of the most prodigious home runs. When he's hot, he's just looking for a pitch to drive, and when he gets it, he can hit it a long way. He's a very strong man. And he's got the maple bat. Have you noticed the label there? He's got it hidden under his armpit there. He'll expose it here shortly. And that's the label. That's the label for the maple bat.
It's like hiding it. It's like a maple leaf.
Yes, he's hiding it.
Out to left field, shallow. Duda got fooled by it, and it drops in front of him. Lucas misjudged that ball, started back on it, and Fielder aboard with a bloop single.
Well, that can happen to a guy like Fielder because he swings so hard. He's got such power. Got it towards the end of the bat.
So the Brewers have their 12th hit. Fielder with his 2nd hit of the game. And now Casey McGee will bat with the tying run at first. McGee 1 for 2, doubled and scored in the 3rd. He's also drawn a walk today. McGee sitting on 99 RBIs for the season. And it's hit out to right center field, and Pagan chases over. 2 outs. So as Pagan makes that play, let's check in with Kevin.
As Angel makes that catch, guys, he was telling me about the offseason, and one of the things he likes to practice is to go and what he called meditating for a little bit and just think back about the season. You know, he goes into a room by himself, closes the door, and just has a thought process. And he said, you know, I think if everybody does that and can think about 1 or 2 things that they can do individually that can help the team, I think it makes you a better team. Last year he did it as well, and he took out a little piece of paper and wrote 3 things on there that he wanted to improve upon. And he carried that piece of paper around. He still has it. And what was on that piece of paper, he told me, listed number 1 was base running, and number 2 was health. Number 3, sharpening baseball instincts. I'd have to say he's improved in all 3 of those things. So little goal that Angel sets for himself, and it's a neat little way to kind of get yourself that motivation and the goal setting to improve the next year. Guys?
3 for 3, you'd have to say.
He's a very intent person, very conscientious. He cares. I would like to see him just get a little more relaxed, and that will come with experience. This is his first full year, and he's been outstanding. And I think he'll become more relaxed as he becomes more confident in his abilities as an everyday player, and then the relaxation comes with it.
And Keith, don't you think just going into spring training knowing that you're a starting outfielder too for him, and then maybe you can approach spring training even a little bit differently, right?
Well, yeah, you can, Kev, but it's a double-edged sword. You've got to be careful not get too laid back. I can't see that happening with the Angel. Angel's waited a long time for his break, and he's taken full advantage of it. I just don't see him as that kind of individual. I remember Jim Cott telling me when the beginning of the 5-year contracts, when Steve Garvey signed that first contract, he signed the first 5-year deal, I believe. It was the first was for $1 million. It was really $200,000 a year. And everybody went, oh my gosh. And then as the 5-year contracts came into full flower, Jim Cott said, general managers got to know who they can give the 5-year deal to and who they can't. Those that will live up to it and always hustle.
Kane lines 1 to center, and he's got a base hit.
And those that might, which is a normal human tendency to kind of become a fat cat and Pagan is not in that category. Here's the base hit right here. That's how you go right with a pitch. Doesn't like that. I think
while Pagan is going to get a nice payday next year in arbitration, he doesn't have anything close to the security of a 5-year contract. He's still in the in the mode where you have to produce every year.
You make judgments not only on the talent on the field, but also on a player's mentality. And I just would. Angel's always going to be someone that strives to be better.
Carlos Villanueva up in the bullpen for the Brewers as they work down toward the bottom of the batting order. John Lucroy is 2 for 3 today. Twice a single to right. He's driven in a run. And the Sens works him inside 2-0. Fielder's at second. He carries the tying run. Kane at first with 2 out. And Lucroy takes a fastball for a strike, 2-1. Seems like so many young hitters are programmed to take that 2-0 fastball, regardless of the situation.
No comprende.
And now it's 3-1.
3-1 is the equivalent of 2-0 in my mind.
Number 8 hitter Luis Cruz on deck. They've gone to the 8th, to the 7th in Atlanta, with the Braves up 4-1 on the Marlins. Atlanta finishing the season at home today, and then 3 with the Phillies. There's a strike, 3-2.
Yeah, looking for a walk. Runners and ribeye steaks out there. Got the tying run on second base. Drive it in. You want Luis Cruz up? Or do you want to drive it in? Come on. My goodness. He's got a reliever out there. You can't get deep in the pitch count on a reliever. Come on.
Now the runners will go with 3-2 and 2 out. And on 3-2, Lucroy lines one right back to the Sens to end the inning. So the Sens gives up a couple of hits, snags the 3rd out, 7th inning stretch, 7-6 Mets. Brewers will go deeper into their bullpen as we go to the 7th. Carlos Villanueva takes over the pitching, the veteran right-hander. Now in his 5th year with the Brewers. He has started and relieved over the course of his Milwaukee career. Got off to a great start this season, but has struggled. Got sent to the minor leagues for a while. Called back on the 1st of September. Andy Parra worked 2 2/3 in relief, allowed no runs and 1 hit, a walk and 3 strikeouts to keep this a 1-run game. Ruben Tejada will lead off for New York in the bottom of the 7th. Tejada, who had the game-winning hit last night in the Mets' 4-3 win, has gone 0 for 3 today. Flied out, hit into a fielder's choice, and struck out. The Mets scored 2 in the 3rd and 5 in the 4th to take a 7-6 lead. They've had just 1 hit since. It'll be Tejada, then Mike Nikias and Jesus Feliciano, 7, 8, and 9 in the order against Villanueva. And Tejada pops the first pitch up. Weeks is right there, 1 away. 1 pitch and 1 retired by Villanueva. And now Mike Nikias. Nikias making his 2nd big league start today, has gone 1 for 3. His first major league hit came in the 2nd inning, a single up the middle. Mike spent most of this year playing in Binghamton. Got a taste of AAA late in the year. Wound up hitting .276.
Did you hear his song before when he stepped into the batter's box?
You know what? I don't pay attention to players' music, so tell me.
It was going down to the crossroads, right? Or Clapton.
Crossroads?
Yes, how about that? Like it.
Cream.
Actually, that was more, I believe, Derek and the Dominoes. Derek and the Dominoes, yes. That's the forgotten band of Eric Clapton.
Well, not with Layla.
Well,
it's the most famous song he ever did.
But people think of Layla, I think, in terms of Eric Clapton, not Derek and the Dominoes. Unless they're old geezers like us.
Bell-bottom blues.
But you got it. Yes, sir.
When you played, you didn't have music that you got to choose.
I did in St. Louis. Yes, I used Thick as a Brick. Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull. In the left center field, a base hit for Nikias. Kane gets over it and cuts it off. And Nikias has his 2nd hit of the night. So, Mike Nikias, who came into this game without a big league hit, now has a pair.
Hanging breaking ball. Nicely done. Stayed in. Everybody's got the toe tap, huh? Whatever works.
So the Mets have their 12th hit of the game. And now Jesus Feliciano will bat for the 3rd time. Came up as a pinch hitter in the 4th, and he sparked the 5-run 4th inning with a bloop single. Stayed in the game in right field, struck out in the 5th, so he's 1 for 2.
Well, here's your IOTV pitch differential. Wants it low and away, and guess what?
It wasn't.
Thank goodness you're not rubbing up a new one.
Feliciano fooled, and it's 1-1.
You know, it's interesting, Gary, what you said about the songs. You would think when I came to New York, they didn't have songs. They didn't ask me. There was no song. So you would, it's kind of reverse. You think St. Louis more conservative, Midwest, New York City more liberal. They would be more avant-garde. It was just the reverse.
Well, I'm not sure I think of playing Jethro Tull as being avant-garde. Here's your PPG Pittsburgh Paints overhead camera. Look at Feliciano's stance.
Wide open, deep in the box. A lot of hitters as far back as they can get in that box because they're so spread out. Legs wide apart. I always had my feet shoulder width apart. I just think it locks your hips.
Tonight after the post game and at 1 a.m. catch the only New York sports news and highlights show in town. We'll hear more from Jose Reyes about his season, more about the struggling Giants, and the Jets hopefully getting some defensive help back on Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game and at 1 a.m. right here on SNY. 1-2 to Jesus Feliciano. And he goes down swinging on the splitter by Villanueva. And that's the second out.
It's the 8th strikeout for Met hitters in this ball game.
So 2 away. Nicky is still at first. And now Jose Reyes, who has 3 extra base hits in this game, 2 doubles and a triple. He's driven in a run. He scored a run. What can he do for an encore?
Oh, wow. Where's that pitch? Bob Davidson has called a very good game behind home plate today, but he doesn't give that pitcher that inside corner, but he's consistent.
That's how you wound up with a game with 25 hits.
Oh, I see the bat boy down there with his helmet on for a change.
He always has his helmet on during the game. It's only between innings that he takes it off.
It's one of Charlie's picks down there.
Jeremy Jeffress is up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Here's the 1-1. And that one bounces, and Lucroy does well to knock it down. 2-1.
Well, tough. Well, that's a tough chance right there. Just kind of get the glove there and block it.
Two 2-1 to Reyes. Off the end of the bat, out to short. And Cruz makes the running toss on target to end the inning. 7 in the books in game 1 of the doubleheader. Mets by a run.
Log on to advancedradiationcenters.com.
That was brilliant.
Thank you. I thought I'd give you a spray.
Pedro Feliciano joins a very select group of pitchers to pitch in 90 games in a season. The last to do it in the major leagues was Solomon Torres with the Pirates 4 years ago. And Pedro just keeps on trucking. And with this appearance, he now sets major league records for most appearances over a 3-year span and over a 4-year span. The 3-year record was held by a couple of guys. The 4-year record was held by Paul Quantrill. And it now belongs to Feliciano.
Well, I guess we can call Pedro Old Faithful, Old Reliable, Old Ironsides.
Well, do you have to call him old? Can't you just call him Pedro?
You know, it's affectionately, but it's been over a long period of time.
He's been remarkable.
You can count on him.
And of course, Feliciano's a free agent at the end of this season, and it would certainly behoove the Mets to re-sign him. But the question is, at what cost? And will he have offers to go elsewhere? Will he wait to listen to offers to go elsewhere? Luis Cruz leading off, bounces one out to short, and Reyes in front of it. Throws out Cruz, one away. Chris Carlin is standing by. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break.
In Atlanta on that road trip not too long ago. They were calling for his hide, were they not, Gare?
Well, Lowe had the bad elbow. He took a cortisone shot, and ever since that, he has been terrific. Here's the former Met, Carlos Gomez, pinch hitting for the Brewers, and he takes the slider away for ball one. Gomez, who played in Minnesota the last 2 years, traded to Milwaukee for the shortstop J.J. Hardy. And Gomez had a rough time of it in Milwaukee, including a concussion that he suffered in August. And after coming back from that concussion, has played very little, as Lorenzo Cain has taken over as the everyday center fielder for the Brewers. As he was when he was with the Mets, Gomez is still a guy of immense talent who just has not quite figured out the game.
Well, a lot of guys I've seen have a lot of tools, and it's just a matter of can you hit?
Well, when the Brewers look at Carlos Gomez and they look at his age, the guy they compare him to is Angel Pagan, the guy who took a long time to figure it out, but now that he has become a star. 3-1 to Carlos, and he takes a strike. 3-2. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking on their part.
Well, if you've got talent, people are going to take chances and hope that they're the ones that come up with aces and the dealt aces.
Three-two to Gomez, and it's low ball 4, so the speedy Carlos Gomez is aboard, carrying the tying run. Only the second walk issued by Mets pitching in this game. And now Ricky Weeks, who has 3 hits today, will come to the plate. Jerry Manuel heads out to the mound. You got right-hand hitters coming up with Weeks and Hart and Braun. And so Manny Acosta is going to come in to try and stave off the Brewers here in the 8th inning. Mets hanging on to a 1-run lead. We'll be right back. bullpen to try and protect a 1-run lead in the 8th inning. His 38th appearance. Comes in with 1 out and 1 on. Ricky Weeks is 3 for 4 today at the plate. 2 singles and double for Weeks. And a throw to first, and Gomez goes diving back in. We talked about Feliciano joining select company and reaching his 90th appearance of the season. In fact, Pedro is only the 5th different pitcher to pitch in 90 games in a season. Mike Marshall has the all-time record. He pitched in 106 games the year he won the Cy Young, and back in '74. And Marshall pitched in 90 or more 3 times. Kent DeCulvey, the sidearmer for the Pirates, pitched in 90 or more 3 times. The only other 2 to do it, Solomon Torres, who was the last to do it. Wayne Granger, that was with the Reds, right? And now Feliciano, only the 5th man ever to pitch in 90 games in a season.
The old workhorse for the Reds.
Fastball strike to Weeks, and it's 0-2. So that's pretty impressive. You know, the 4 other guys have ever done something, and now you join that list, and it's a tribute to not only his resilience but really his perseverance, because you remember where Pedro was when he first came to the Mets back in '04, and how he has progressed since then.
Well, he wasn't a side armor, and he was throwing 3/4 and had difficulty with right-handers, and then he went sidearm. I mean, he made the adjustment quite rapidly, but then had difficulty getting the right-handers out because he was throwing sidearm, and then he quite rapidly developed the changeup, which made him effective against right-handers. So he's obviously a very bright man that knows how to adjust. You know, not everybody can do that.
Took a little step back for a while against the right-hand hitters this year, but he seems to have remedied that later in the season. Corey Hart on deck. Acosta ahead 0-2 on Weeks. And the breaking ball lifted to left. Duda got a good read on this one. And that's the 2nd out.
Well, that was a hanging breaking ball that Acosta got away with right there. Actually, it would be pronounced Acosta, right? Proper Spanish pronunciation. It's the hanging slider. Watch. Oh, my word. And you're a hitter, you go, gosh, I would love to have that pitch back.
So 2 out, and now Corey Hart, who's 1 for 4, doubled in a run in the 3rd, but has struck out in his other 3 at-bats. Hart has now struck out 133 times this year. There goes Gomez. Nikias' throw is into the runner and goes into center field, and Gomez will take that tying run over to 3rd.
Well, if the throw's on line, they've got him. But the throw's into the runner. Good pitch to throw. And it just tails into the runner, almost beamed him.
11th stolen base of the year for Gomez. Tack on the error by Nikias, moving him over to 3rd. And now the tying run is on 3rd base with 2 out. Isunori Takahashi getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Hoping there'll be a save chance left for him in the 9th. 1-0 to Hart. And a fastball taken high, 2-0. Jeremy Jeffress is up again in the Milwaukee bullpen. Oh. 2-1 to Hart, with Ryan Braun standing on deck. Cameron Lowe joins Jeffress in the bullpen for Milwaukee. And the slider away, and now it's 3-1. Ball games have occasionally been distressing to Acosta. Little tapper, tough play. Wright comes in, can't make the play, and the Brewers tie the game. An infield single for Corey Hart brings home Gomez with the tying run, and it's 7-7.
Well, the throwing error now looms large. And David does all he can do, and I don't believe if he makes that play cleanly, he's going to get hard.
Number two, if whether he was distracted by Acosta stepping right in front of him.
Great. Look at that camera angle. Beautiful. Beautiful isolation right there.
So now Ryan Braun will bat with the go-ahead run at first. Braun has gone 0 for 4 today after sitting out last night with a stomach virus in the first game of the series. And he takes wide for ball 1. Well, the Mets' delicate 7-6 lead lasted from the 4th until here in the 8th. And now the Brewers have scratched out a run on a walk, a stolen base, a throwing error, and an infield hit.
Now, if Costa gets this out, it's an unearned run, correct? A base hit makes it an earned run.
Correct. Seems kind of silly, doesn't it?
No, it actually makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense from a scoring standpoint.
Right.
But as far as what would have actually happened, why should it make any difference whether the next guy gets a hit?
Because he wouldn't have scored on the air.
I understand that.
The advancement to third base.
Right.
So what's your point?
My point is that why should the fact of it being an earned or unearned run be dependent on something that's independent of the way the run scored? The run's already scored. Why should we have to wait to know whether it's an earned or an unearned run? I know the scoring rules, don't get me wrong, as it skips by David Wright, and that's going to make it an earned run because that'll be a hit for Braun. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, the run has already come in. We should be able to say, okay, that's an earned run or that's an unearned run. It shouldn't be dependent on something that happens after the fact.
I disagree.
Okay.
Friendly.
Respectfully.
Yeah. You know I love you.
I'm just saying, in a perfect world, it would be nice to say when the run scores, that's an earned run or that's an unearned run. Anyway, now with the go-ahead run at second base, Jerry Manuel is going to make a pitching change. He'll bring in Takahashi in a tie game in the 8th inning to face Prince Fielder. It's 7-7 in the top of the 8th. We'll be right back. Bat in the 6th hole where the pitcher had been, and the pitcher will go in the 8th spot. That's Isanori Takahashi. Here's your Toyota text poll. Would you be comfortable having Isanori Takahashi as the closer next season? A for yes, B for no. Text to 57508 or visit sny.tv to express your opinion.
And folks, take your time because of what the rate this game's going, you got plenty of time to mull this one over.
Yes, Takahashi's not coming into a classic closer situation here. Tie game in the 8th inning.
And he has been Mr. Closer, and with the flip-flop of the lineup, obviously Jerry's going to go with him for more than a few innings.
Come in to face Prince Fielder with 2 men on, Hart at second and Braun at first. The Brewers have rallied to tie the game here in the 8th inning. Nothing hit particularly hard in the inning. A walk, a stolen base, a throwing error, an infield hit, and then Ryan Braun hit a shot that David Wright could not corral. That went for a base hit. So now Fielder, who's 2 for 4 on the day, drove in a run with a third inning single. The Brewers now have 15 hits in this game. We are 7-7 in the top of the 8th. And oh, by the way, there's another game after this one. Yeah, tonight, right after this one's over.
Yes.
It's that old-fashioned doubleheader thing.
I will be I'll be dining.
That your grandfather told you about.
I'll be dining. Ernie Banks, let's play 3.
Sure. We'll still only be here for one of them. Ball 1 to Fielder. Of course, the longer this game takes, the more that storm creeps up through New Jersey, heading toward us.
Yes. No, it's not in Jersey yet.
It's not, huh?
It's
You want to look at the radar?
It goes as far south as Cuba. You know that?
It's a big storm. 1-1 to Fielder. Dave Fried informed me the last Major League triple-header was in the 1920s.
See, it's not even close. Let's go down further. Go down south. There it is. That's the beginning. It's down the Carolinas.
It's in Maryland.
Okay, fine.
That's almost the Carolinas.
Relax.
A few showers in Jersey.
You're going to get 18 in today.
Oh, good. But what if the first game goes 15?
Fielder hits one through the shift and into center field, a base hit. Corey Hart turns third. He'll come in with the lead run, and the Brewers go back in front, 8-7. Fielder's third hit and second RBI of the day. 3 straight 2-out hits for the Brewers.
Well, they got the shift on, and rightly so. Dead pull hitter. Be a little less inclined on a left-hander to be playing that kind of shift. I don't know. I don't see the charts. But I think that's a base hit in either way you look at it.
So 8-7 Milwaukee. And now Casey McGee with 2 out and 2 on. McGee 1 for 3 and a walk. And he taps one right at the plate. Tolley is there to grab it. And McGee an easy out to end the inning. But 2 runs score. One of them against Feliciano, the other charged to Acosta. Middle of the 8th, and it's the Brewers on top 8-7. Offensive day for both teams. Jose Reyes with 3 extra base hits. Lucas Duda and David Wright with home runs. Wright homering for his 3rd straight game. But the Mets now down by a run, 8-7, as they come to bat at the bottom of the 8th against the 6'7" right-hander Cameron Lowe.
Well, he's had himself a nice season. The ERA that can be deceptive, but I'll look at the walks: 15 and 55 and a third. He throws strikes. The strikeout pitcher, 42 and 55 and a third. Yeah, and Mr. Duda has Jimi Hendrix on the water.
Along the watchtower.
All on the watchtower, the Dylan song. How about the kids are getting very, they're retro.
Maybe he didn't pick it. Lucas is 2 for 4. He homered back in the 4th inning, his 3rd in the major leagues, and he takes a fastball strike from Lowe, the former Texas Ranger. It'll be Duda, Pagan, and Wright for the Mets as they try and fight back after the Brewers grab the lead in the top of the 8th. Carlos Villanueva is pitcher of record on the long side now for the Brewers after pitching a scoreless 7th. Manny Acosta, pitcher of record on the short side. The Brewers have 16 hits. The Mets have 12. Each team has made 1 error. And that one bounces away from Lucroy, 2-1.
15 walks and 55 in the 3rd innings. Throwing 2 balls in the dirt.
When Lowe pitched in Japan last year for the Fukuoka Daiei Hawks. Say that carefully.
My favorite bat boy that went across the screen there with his helmet on.
Duda pops it up. And behind third base, McGee retreats. 1 away. So Duda retired, and now it's Angel Pagan, who's 1 for 4 on the day. Singled, stole a base, scored a run in the 4th. Both starters got knocked out early. John Neese lasted just 2 2/3 in his final start of the year, allowing 6 runs and 10 hits. Giovanni Gallardo staked to a 6-run lead, lasted 3 1/3, allowed 7 runs and 10 hits. They've both now been taken off the hook. Pagan takes it low to start his 5th at bat, 1-0.
So Lowe is just basically a slinger. He takes his windup. He almost takes his back step towards the first base dugout. He does.
Fielder playing right along the line. If that's a fair ball, it's probably an out. 1-1.
You always got to guard the lines. Tying run at the plate or on the bases.
David Wright in a hot streak right now, waiting on deck. Line center field, base hit for Pagan. And Pagan has his 2nd hit of the day. So 1 out and 1 on. And now David Wright. David hit a 2-run homer in the 4th inning. His 28th of the year. And it gave him home runs in his last 3 games. He became the first Met to homer in 3 straight games since Carlos Delgado did it 2 years ago. David now at 100 runs batted in for the year. Batting here with a tying run at first and 1 out. Wright takes the breaking ball for a strike.
Hanger right there.
Ike Davis to follow. Brewers playing it deep in the outfield. No doubles. There goes Pagan, and Wright fouls it at the plate.
He had that bag stolen, but you know, with 1 strike, it's tough to ask a hitter 0-1. It's a great jump. He had it easy. It's tough to ask a hitter to take a strike, but he's 0-1.
He already has 1 stolen base today, 36 for the year. Now David finds himself in a 2-strike hole. Breaking ball just missed. 1-2. Now the 1-2. Back to the mound, could be 2. Low to Weeks, and on to first for the 1-4-3 double play, and the inning is over. On to the 9th, 8-7 Milwaukee. Down 6-0, up 7-6, now down 8-7.
A seesaw affair.
John Axford, who blew the save and took the loss last night for the Brewers, looking to get right back on the horse tonight. Brewers will try and get him some insurance here in the top of the 9th against Takahashi. Lorenzo Cain has gone 3 for 4. 3 singles, all to center field. He's driven in 2 runs. And Cain takes low and away for ball 1.
I have a rarity on my scorecard. That's only happened 3 times. I've used all my colors. This is 7 colors on the Mets.
Well, let's see. The Mets have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pitchers.
Yep. So I've gone through
so
my. I've gone through my colors.
So what do you do with the 8th pitcher?
Well, I go back to the first color, which is yellow.
I see. Oh, I see. You don't use a color for the starter. You only use them for the relief.
Right.
I see.
Only
Keep
the relief.
starter
So
on
I haven't
color.
flipped over yet. I leave the starting pitcher neutral.
It's neutral. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you always use the colors in the same order?
Yes, but I've never. It's the 3rd time I've gone this deep in the.
So you're saying the first relief pitcher is always in yellow?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yellow, then I follow red, and then I follow blue. I try to do contrasting colors on the color wheel. So blue and orange are contrasting colors, so they'll stand apart.
You've actually given this some thought.
Yes. That's one of the. And the colors in the actual scoring allow me to. So when I'm doing the post-game show, and I have such a bad memory, yellow means Igarashi. So when I'm looking at the scorecard, I know the yellow is Igarashi's inning, the red is Valdez, the green is green, the blue is green. Too bad the green wasn't green.
Really? How come you couldn't
I
erase
should have
that?
thought of that. And Descends was orange, Feliciano was green, Costa was purple. It's very rare I get to purple, and it's very rare I get to pink. Takahashi's in pink. Pink's my last pick on the color chart.
Nothing wrong with pink, you know. Takes a real man to wear pink. Here's a 3-2. Fouled away. was very educational. I did not know that you kept the same order of colors every game. How do you remember?
I just do. I've been doing it for so long.
Some people are able to keep score without.
I know, but they don't have. She doesn't have to do the post-game show.
Well, maybe she does. Maybe you just don't know. She might have to go home and give a full accounting.
Anyway, it keeps me happy, and there's beautiful pictures in this guy. It's wonderful. The wife's beautiful. It's just beautiful here.
Did you come here straight from home? Long turn at bat for Kane leading off in the ninth. And he pops one up. Who's going to call it? Tejada's got charge of it. And he drops the ball. Ruben Tejada dropping the routine pop-up. And Kane is aboard to start the ninth.
I did not say it was just Ruben. I thought it was routine. He did not one-handed. He just dropped it. Wow.
In front of him. Didn't get under the ball.
There's some wind blowing out from east to west, blowing out to left field. Wow.
That's stunning. Tejada's 8th error of the year, and that gives the Brewers a leadoff base runner. And now John Lucroy will come up. We'll see how the Brewers play this. Whether they try and bunt to set up a single run or play for a bigger inning.
Slight shade to right field. He's been going that way, definitely. I can see Tejada shade a little more to right field as much as he can and still be able to get to the bag for a double play.
Lucroy is 2 for 4 in this game, twice a single to right. Last time up, he lined out to the pitcher, descends with 2 men on. Taking a long look down at his third base coach, Brad Fisher, to see if the bunt is on here. You got Kane at first base with outstanding speed. He's got 6 stolen bases in 7 tries. And Takahashi keeping an eye on him.
Bunting.
First pitch to Lucroy, and he is bunting, and he bunts and misses. 0-1. Luis Cruz, the number 8 hitter, on deck. So we'll see if Ken Maka keeps the bunt on here with 0-1. And he does. And Lucroy fouls it off. And it's 0-2.
It's like an exercise in futility.
That's a lot of signs.
Never to be too careful. I told you about Preston Gomez's signs, right? In the Cardinals, my early days. 76, everybody had their own sign for each individual play.
That's just crazy.
No, he could do it quick too. Amazing. He had nothing better to do. I love Preston. What a nice man he was.
How could he possibly remember a set of signs for every play?
I'll explain to the folks. I had my own bunt sign, my own hit and run sign, my own steal sign. Ken Reitz, our third baseman, had his. So if he gave a hit and run, he had to give a steal sign, hit and run sign to 2 players.
All right, to the guy at first and the guy at the plate. The changeup strikes out Lucroy, so he fails to move the runner, and that's the first out.
There's the patent changeup in a good spot.
So now 1 out and 1 on, and the number 8 hitter Luis Cruz comes up. Cruz is 1 for 4. He singled home a run back in the 3rd. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have Davis, Tolle, and Tejada due up. But Takahashi trying to keep this a 1-run game. Down to first base. Davis makes the out at first, and now they've got Kane in a run down.
Nicely done on the run.
Nobody covering second, and Wright finally gets over there and makes the tag on Kane to end the inning. Double play 3-6-3-5. Not conventional, but it worked. 1-run game. Play in the top of the inning.
Well, nice play by Ike to start it. Makes the backhand tag. Now Reyes does the right thing. Run hard. So you see Davis close right there. I was slow in my analysis there. But watch Davis in your screen at first base here. He makes the play. Tag, throw. Reyes come hard. Jose comes hard. Now watch Ike come forward. Close the gap. Beautiful. But he lost a little bit of the momentum. And he's not fast enough to catch the runner, but that's the way it's done. It should have been just 2 throws, adios.
And fortunately, Wright was able to get over there and make the tag to complete the double play. Now John Axford, who blew the save last night, comes in with a 1-run lead tonight.
Well, gave up the double to Ruben Tejada to lose the game. Hard thrower.
He struck out David Wright to end the 8th, but then Ike Davis led off the 9th with a long double to right center, and Ike leads off the 9th tonight with the Mets down a run and takes a big cut and foul tips it 0-1.
It's a good matchup for Ike because Ike has the big wind-up backswing, getting prepared, and he can kind of unload on the fastball pitcher.
Josh Tolley on deck, and then Ruben Tejada.
I just wonder, but I always think that if Ike with that big wind up and he dives, there's that was a good strike. Boy, you can put one under his chin and put him on his back. Just let him think about, okay, you want to wind up and drop your hands and load up like that and stride in over the plate. Well, here's one under your chin and on your back. Think twice about doing that again.
And breaking ball in for a strike. 1-2. We asked whether you'd be comfortable with Isanori Takahashi as the closer for next year in our Toyota text poll, and the majority says yes. 56-44. Text 57508 or SNY.TV.
Not overwhelming.
People like hard throwers for closers, but the Mets lived very comfortably for a long time with John Franco as their closer. The guy who did not throw more than didn't throw any harder than Takahashi did. A similar repertoire. Davis has walked 3 times tonight, 0 for 1. 2-2 from Axford. And the breaking ball in there, he got him looking. So Axford changes the program a little bit and gets Davis looking at the breaking ball, 1 away.
Well, that's the best one he snapped off. That's the location, down and in. The first 2 were up and over the middle, and Ike was out in front. They were the ones that hit.
That one out, not Josh Tolley. Only cleared a base hit to left against Axford last night to get the Mets set up for the win. The Brewers 8 runs and 16 hits. The Mets 7 runs and 13 hits. We're in the last of the ninth. First of a doubleheader as Tolley jumps back 1-0. Right after the first game where our doubleheader is done, keep it tuned for Lincoln Mercury post-game live. They'll fill the time between the games with entertaining conversation and more. There's a strike. 1-1 to Tolley. They can entertain, you know. Carlin and Ojeda.
They're very good. Outstanding.
You know, they'll give us a chance to take a breath before we come back for game 2. Here's the 1-1. Curveball bounced foul, 1-2. And Ronnie's waiting in the wings. Yes, he's champing at the bit. On to final in Atlanta. Braves behind Derek Lowe, and another big hit by Brooks Conrad.
So it looks good for Atlanta.
They're now 2 games up on San Diego. The Padres play tonight, as do the Giants, who are 2 games up on San Diego as well. It's looking really bad for the Padres.
So they got to win.
Tolley lifts one out to left, and Braun is there. 2 out. So the Mets are down to their final out in game 1, and last night's hero, Ruben Tejada, will come to bat. Ruben is 0 for 4 in this game, after his 3-hit night last night that culminated in the game-winning hit. Last night was the first time all year that the Mets have won a game that they trailed after 8 innings. If he can pull that off 4 or 5 times a year, that's pretty good. 2 days in a row, that's tough. Corners in against Tejada, and the curveball in for a strike. So Axford, who threw almost all fastballs last night, doing it very differently tonight. And now it's 0-2. The Mets have only lost 4 games this year where they've led after 7 innings. This would be the 5th. They had a 7-6 lead after 7. But the Brewers got 2 in the 8th against the Mets bullpen. And now Axford 1 strike away from nailing it down. Oh, 0-2 to Tejada. And he lays off a ball and 2 strikes. If Ruben can keep it going, Joaquin Arias has come out on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher. One and 2 to Tejada. And another breaking ball misses. 2-2.
Here comes the 7th Cavalry.
Charge. Two. He struck him out and the ball game is over. John Axford with a 1-2-3 ninth, bouncing back after last night's blown save. And the Brewers have evened up the series with an 8-7 win in game 1 of today's doubleheader.
Well, a seesaw affair, a very long game, and the Mets lose on a bleeder down the left first third base line after a throwing error on a stolen base. That was the difference in the ball game. The Mets almost had their first W, Gary, coming back from 6 runs down, but fell short.
So the Mets came back, took a lead, but were unable to hang on. If you look at the game summary, Manny Acosta suffers the loss. David Wright homers for the 3rd straight game. Prince Fielder with the RBI in the 8th inning that put the Brewers in front to stay as Milwaukee wins it 8-7. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Rums of Puerto Rico, the rum capital of the world. By Bigelow Organic Iced Tea is available in 4 refreshing flavors. By BJ's Wholesale. Join Isanori Takahashi this Friday at the Flushing BJ's, located at 131-0740th Road from 1 to 2 p.m. for a meet and greet and a chance to win Mets tickets courtesy of BJ's, Tide, and Downey. And by the New York State Smokers Quit Line.
Brewers win at 8-7 in Game 1 of our doubleheader. Game 2 coming up in just a few minutes. It'll be R.A. Dickey for the Mets and Dave Bush for the Brewers in Game 2 of the doubleheader. But right now, for Keith Hernandez, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen. Let's take you to Lincoln Mercury post-game live. Let's join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda.